Hello everyone, my name is Kaz and welcome to the MMDL Pokemon Power Rankings. This is the Mischief Mew Draft League, my draft league, and in the first season we are doing low tier almost any abilities. This is a private invite-only league, which I did, personally inviting another 15 coaches to come join me in this format. I've already done my draft analysis, but I'll talk a bit more about my team and where I'd put it in the power rankings later on. When we get to me, I'll be the 10th one. So how this is going to work is I'm going to kind of discuss the team. I'm also going to separately ping in the Discord the person whose team I'm talking about, and if they're around and want to come talk to it, I'll bring them in and they can discuss their team. Before we start, I apologize to anyone who I'm friends with or that I kind of acquaintance with. If you feel like I probably should have invited you to the league, I apologize. In all honesty, I had a lot more people say yes than I was expecting. And then I also had some people which I messaged thinking that they'd probably come in, and they ended up not due to being busy or not seeing the message or not liking the format. But just see it as I thought you were too good to join in. Zodiac. But nonetheless, we'll get started. So first off, we're going to look at the, I think it's Indianapolis Colossals, coached by Shivkebob. I will just add him before I talk about the team. Brilliant. So the team consists of Slitherwing with adaptability and protein. Adaptability just allows it to hit so hard, and then protein can get rid of that nasty 4x weakness. Also allows it to get boost on some of the coverage it has, such as electric with wild charge, fire with, I think it gets flare blitz, as well as flame charge. It can just be really good for it. He then has the Alolan Muck with Theta Unaware, obviously the grounded poison, but also having the dark poison type with Earth Eater, giving it absolutely no weaknesses. It's absolutely amazing. And then Unaware being able to deal with some of those setup threats. We have Desolate Line of Beta Ruin Delphox, which just hits really hard. Just does a whole lot of damage. It could be really threatening to teams. We have Punk Rock Fluffy Sylveon. Punk Rock's a little interesting. I know it does like Hyper Voice, but since it's no Pixelate, it won't be Stab, but I'm still sure it does quite a good amount of damage. And Fluffy does very good defensively. It does make you a little bit weak to fire, but other than that, it's a really good defensive profile. We have Serena with Tough Claws and Regenerator. Slightly surprising that it's no Grassy Surge, but I don't think it was necessarily needed for this team. It means it can get some health off while keeping up momentum with like U-turn, and the Tough Claws means it can do some pretty decent damage with things like its Triple Axle and stuff like that. Sapsipper Primal will see Seismitoad. Obviously, the water ground type with Sapsipper having no weaknesses is amazing, and then Primordial Sea is just good for both offensive and defensive utility. We then have Prankster Delta Stream Rotom Fan, another one which has zero weaknesses with Delta Stream Rotom Fan, and then Prankster, obviously, things like T-Wave. Light Clay is banned, but obviously Screen's really good, Trick, all fantastic. Tablux of Ruin and Filter Regice, really good. Not a whole lot of utility, but can be a very good sponge to some of the hits. We have Queenly Majesty and Shadow Sealed Minior. This is not the Meteor form. I think it's called the Core form. So it has like the 120 speed and the more offensive than defensive. So that allows it to be a very scary setup threat with that Shell Smash. And then finally we have the Sword of Ruin and Scrappy Tauros, which can just do a whole lot of damage to opponents and good speed tier. This team has 2 Rockers, 1 D4 and 1 Spin. It has 3 U-turn and 1 Volt Switch. The priority-wise, it has First Impression and Shadow Sneak. It does have a couple of other, but they're pretty negligible. It has 2 Taunt, 3 Knock, 1 Encore, and 2 Trick. And then status-wise, it has 1 Stun Spore, 2 T-Wave, 9 Toxic, and 3 Will-O-Wisp. Overall, has good speed tiers. I think it goes from Minior being the fastest to Tauros to Delphox, which is pretty good, pretty fast. It does have one Hebel and one Aromatherapy. I think that's, off the top of my head, Sylveon and Serena. That might be incorrect, though. Pros of this, it's got very strong offense with the Slitherwing, Delphox, Tauros, and the setup Minior. It can be really threatening for team, as well as the really good defensive Mons, being the 3 Mons on the team with literally 0 weaknesses if you bring the right abilities. The negatives, it's got a fire weakness, with the only answer being the Primordial Sea Seismitoad, or it doesn't need to be the Primordial Sea, but with these many desolate lands coming around, it's probably going to be the answer, so that might force that, kind of pigeonhole that a bit. But other than that, this is still a really good team, really threatening, and I'm really excited to see how Shiv uses this. This is a S-tier Pokemon. Right, next up we have, where is the team? Raku. Let's type in Raku and at him before we start. Raku's team consists of Skarmory with Delta Stream and Wellbake Body. This gives it an overall chance to have 0 weaknesses, or in the right matchups, just not be weak to anything. Delta Stream makes it only weak to fire, I do believe, and then obviously Wellbake Body, meaning the fire type hits do absolutely nothing, and you get that 2 times defense boost. With Regenerator and Guts Snorlax, Regenerator gives it some reliable recovery, and Guts means it can actually hit just super duper hard, as well as not being able to get toxic and things like that. With Sheer Force and Sturdy Ribombee, really fast option, can hit really hard with the Sheer Force, and then Sturdy gives that reliable, hold on, shivers it. I am speed. That's the shit. Sorry, Shivers is his messaging now. We have Venusaur with Unaware Thick Fat, which is just really, really bulky, really annoying. Pretty much Mega Venusaur. Okay, Shiv didn't see the announcement. Yeah, so Venusaur, Unaware Thick Fat. Pretty much mini Mega Venusaur with that thick fat, only making it weak to, I believe, Psychic, and I think there's something else. Flying. And then Unaware, just being able to deal with some of those setup threats. We've Water Absorb and Fluffy Rhydon. Really bulky with an Eviolite. Fluffy, it can take some insane hits with the Eviolite plus bulk, and then Water Absorb getting rid of one of those main 4 times weaknesses it has. We then have Primordial Sea and Volt Absorb Blastoise. Primordial Sea really good for both offensively and defensively, and then Volt Absorb being able to get rid of one of its main weaknesses in Electric. We have Alolan Raichu with Terra Volt and Psychic Surge. Very good speed for this team. I think so far it's bridging the gap between Ribombee and Venusaur or Blastoise. I don't remember which one's faster. I think Venusaur's 80 and Blastoise 78, but that's a bad head calc. I'm getting messages in the Discord. So having Terra Volt and Psychic Surge, Terra Volt getting rid of being able to deal with some of those Volt Absorb Mons, which can be really good, and then Psychic Surge not only get rid of the opposing priority, but also doing a lot more damage with your Psychic type attacks. It's just really good. Hitmonlee, Intimidate, and Scrappy, taking a little bit of more defensive role with the Intimidate ability, but Scrappy just makes its Rapid Spin go through even against like Ghost types, and then in this format, Fighting type, which doesn't have an immunity ability, being able to have Scrappy on it, just really good offensively. We then have Charizard with Desolate Land Magic Guard. really, really good magic art, meaning it doesn't have to hold boots and won't take rocks, and then Desert Land being really good both offensively and defensively. Some of the best abilities in this format, which I think every team should have, which you'll probably hear a lot in the future teams. We have a Lowland Persian, Prankster, and Screen Cleaner. Screen Cleaner is a little bit interesting, but I guess when you have a Prankster and Lowland Persian, that's probably what you're bringing most of the time. Screen Cleaner, due to the fact that Light Clay is banned in the format, and people won't be as much prioritizing the Reflect and Light screens, I don't think it was really that necessary, but obviously it was just a backup ability. And then finally you have Lantern with Lightning Rod and Earth Eater. Very good defensively, being able to have that ground immunity and then keeping that electric immunity is just amazing, especially if you can get a special attack boost on like a Volt Switch or something. This team has 2 Rockers, 1 Spiker, 1 Weather, 3 Defog, and 2 Spin. It has 2 U-Turn, 2 Volt Switch, 2 Flip Turn, and 1 Parting Shot. Priority-wise, it has Aqua Jet, Bullet Punch, Extreme Speed, 4 Fake Elmons, and Muck Punch. It has 3 Taunt Users, 4 Knock, 2 Encore, 1 Trick, and 1 Switcheroo. Status-wise, it has 1 Nuzzle, 1 Stun Spore, 3 T-Wave, 11 Toxic, my apologies, and 1 Wisp. Very good speeders, being Rabombi is the fastest, going into the Alolan Raichu. No, sorry, going into the Alolan Persian, then into the Alolan Raichu. It also has 1 Heal Bell and 1 Aromatherapy. I do not. I think Lantern, Heal Bell, Aromatherapy. I'm going to guess Rabombi, but that could be wrong. Pros of the team has got such an obnoxious defensive profile between Skarmory, Snorlax, Rhydon, and a lot of these supposedly offensive threats can be really defensive of the team, such as the Lantern, Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur. Just really, really strong and obnoxious. Negative-wise, it's a lot of bulky offense, which can be good in certain matchups, but some it might be a little difficult. There are faster offensive pieces, such as the Raichu, Alola, and the Rabombi. But the ones that deal the most damage with this team are pretty slow, and there's no Trick Room on the team. But overall, this is going to be such an obnoxious person to try and go up against, just because of how bulky the team is and how good utility-wise it is. This is a S tier. 1 page down. Let's have a quick drink before we go to our next person. Our next coach is Smaster and the Crimson Chompers. We will add him in the chat. Right, the team consists of Porygon 2 with Misty Surge and Sticky Hold. Misty Surge obviously to stop any status against it, meaning those toxics that's coming its way, and Sticky Hold keeping its EV alight and meaning it can't get knocked off. We then have Galarian Moltres with Delta Stream and Aerialate. Delta Stream making it only weak to Fairy, I do believe, and then Aerialate is just a pretty good move for, pretty good ability, sorry, for these flying type mons. Just give it a little bit extra damage. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. I think it gets like Hyper Voice, which it's going to use the Aerialate on, but that might be wrong. It might be some other move, maybe like Terra Blast is its only way of kind of utilizing it. But who knows? We have Tyrantrum with Tough Claws and Terravolt. Very, very strong with Tough Claws, and then Terravolt obviously getting rid of those things. It's mainly going to be the immunity to like ground, so it can click Earthquakes, but on the Levitate and Earth Eater mons. But it's incredibly strong, incredibly difficult to switch into. We have a Scavalier with the Well-Baked Body and the Regenerator. Well-Baked Body meaning it has 0 weaknesses, and Regenerator giving it a good, reliable way of getting recovery. So we can kind of just pick between them depending on the matchup. Still really good. We then have Hawlucha, Adaptability, and Beast Boost. This is amazing. Finally giving him something above, I think, is it 90? Current highest speed tier. Smaster is coming in. Join in general. You want to talk about your team in the PRs. We'll just keep speaking and seeing if he wants to join. So with Jellison, Volt Absorb, and Prankster, there is a rule in this where you can't have Strength Sap on a Prankster set, but you can have it just on the Mon. So if he's Volt Absorb, he can use Strength Sap, but he can't have it whilst on Prankster. He's joined General, and I'm just going to move him over to here. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. So I've just gone over about half of your team, but if you want to talk about things that you've picked or why you picked it, like ability-wise or the Mons in general, feel free to do so.
Yeah, sure. So, going into it, I had like a plan about kind of a couple mons that I wanted. I knew I wanted to draft Tyrantrum, and I knew I wanted to draft Escav, because Escav is super cheap. It's like 11 points, and I knew with the right abilities it could be pretty broken. Um, and yeah, Tyrantrum is a fun mon that I think is more viable in this format than any other format. So I kind of built around that with that in mind. So the first two picks that I picked were for that reason. I wanted to get a good defensive core because I know Tyrantrum needs a lot of defensive support, but I also wanted like a special win con if Tyrantrum is going to be like a physical breaker and Escav is also physical. So that's why I went with Moltres. And I just thought Delta Stream is pretty broken, so I wanted a good abuser for that. Moltres is able to set up using Delta Stream, which makes it, I think, one of the better abusers for it. And Aerial Aid is just kind of like, so I don't have to click Hurricane, because I hate clicking Hurricane.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then Porygon 2 is just like a good defensive piece. I thought it would be a nice Trick Room setter for Escav, and I want to make it hard to break. So Misty Surge gives you status support, so you can't Toxic it, and then Sticky Hold is so you can't knock the Eviolite. But the main reason behind Misty Surge also, that was another reason why I picked up Porygon, was because I wanted to support Tyrantrum and Escav. I didn't want them to get burned, and I didn't want Moltres to get toxic. So Porygon 2's Misty Surge kind of supports both of those things and makes it easier to get those guys set up without having to fear like Thunder Wave or like annoying stuff like that. So I thought it just generally it works really well, especially with teleport. You don't have to worry about like pivoting in. You get like a slow pivot into whatever your setup threat is. It can't be statused. It's really hard to stop. And then from there, everything else is kind of just to round out the team. Like I got Hawlucha Jellison because supports the defensive core. Like it with Porygon 2, it's kind of a perfect type coverage combo. I wanted Jellison also. I wanted something for Bolt Beam because a lot of the galvanized, a lot of the electric types are probably going to run refrigerate. So I wanted something to have that to like nerf that stab combo. And Jellison's Prankster just kind of works really well with its move pool, even if it can't use sap. Like having recover on priority is really nice, but also it just gets so much utility, like Destiny Bond, Will-O-Wisp, like a lot of things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
Hawlucha is just a good win condition. I wanted some abuser for Rusty and Rocky Helmet. Sandslash just filled a bunch of roles. It was like hazards. I think that's probably the weakest part of my team is no hazards. Like it basically is entirely on Sandslash, and Terapagos and Tyrantrum are the two other rockers.
Yeah.
So, but I can't really have everything in the team, and I was okay sacrificing hazards because sometimes I feel like AA is such a fast game that you can't really run hazards that effectively.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Monkey, I just wanted a really strong special breaker because I noticed I have so much physical offense. So Monkey Dory with Sheer Force or Beat the Ruin is kind of unswitchable. Like you can't really switch into it. Um, yeah, and then the rest of it is just like budget picks to round out. Since we have to have 11 mons, I just pick stuff that's like 2 or 3 points that I thought was pretty broken. That like if you put the right abilities on it, it's probably worth a little bit more than 2 or 3 points that it's priced at. And I was like, okay, I'll just have these as like options if I need to bring them to a game.
Yeah, it's definitely a format where even the really weak stuff can become very strong depending on the abilities. So
Yeah,
I'll just
100%.
go through. I just made notes, so you pretty much did majority of what I was going to say. But I was going to say you have 3 Stealth Rockers, 1 Spiker, 1 Defog, and 2 Spin. Your momentum wise, you got 4 U-turn, 2 Volt Switch, 1 Parting Shot, and 1 Teleport. Obviously, that P2, which is so obnoxious. Yeah, priority wise, it's slightly lacking, but you've got Extreme Speed and Fake Out. I think that's both from Pikachu, if I'd have to guess. You got stuff like
Yeah.
6 Taunters, 3 Knockoff, 3 Encore, 3 Trick. amazing utility. It's going to be so annoying. I don't want to face you, but I think we do week 2, and that's gross. You have 1 Nuzzle, 3 T-Wave, 9 Toxics, and 1 Will-O-Wisper. Very solid speed tiers with Holucha being your fastest, I believe, going down into the Monkey Dory. Still very solid. For the pros in the team, your offense is like near unguardable. Holucha plus Tyrantrum plus Monkey Dory plus Escavalier are just so difficult to try and switch into, especially consistently. And then obviously your defensive profile, that P2, the Jellicent, and that Escavalier again are just so annoying to try and break. You have a very, very good team. Some cons of the team is I put it that it's difficult justifying bringing some of your low tiers. I think the lower 4 just kind of get heavily overshadowed from your top 8, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something that I'm trying to nitpick. There's so many good teams in this. Just trying to get things down. Yeah, so obviously it's slightly top heavy with those low tiers. It's still being very good, but hard to justify bringing. And then I also think you're kind of forced to bring Sandslash a couple of weeks just because of that, it being your spitter and your main hazard setter. And then I've also got that you've got no ground immunity abilities, which might be a little difficult for your team. You've obviously got answers just naturally in like the Galarian Moltres and the Holucha. But if you have specific matchups where they go relatively early, Earthquake can just kind of put quite a lot of holes into your team. But that's pretty much it that I had for the pros and cons. Overall, this is an S tier team. I don't want to face it. Can you like give up week 2? That'd be cool. Or make some transactions. How about you do that?
Yeah, I'll just drop my whole team.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, give it to me. We'll swap.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree, but I think that like in general, like 11 Mon formats, you usually have 2 or 3 Mons that are kind of just shitters that you really have a hard time justifying it. So like I think building top heavy a lot of times when you can only bring 6 Mons, isn't too bad. But yeah, the Sandslash thing is definitely real. I am a little bit worried about that, but honestly, I might just boot spam and just not care.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sometimes, which I think might be reasonable. So Jellicent still is that's another thing. I wanted like Jellicent to have Volt Absorb so that I didn't have to bring my ground like in Sandslash.
Yeah.
Because then I can still block Volt switches and have like bring my top 6 and have a good defensive core. Because the double flying is like a little bit weak to like electric moves, like especially Refrigerate. It kind of cooks my top 5. So
yeah, slightly.
Yeah, so I did want a little bit of answers to that, but yeah, I was trying to find a place for Earth Eater. I was gonna put on Tyrantrum, but I kind of looked at matchups and I was like, okay, I don't know. A lot of these teams have abilities where Tyrantrum would be severely nerfed if I didn't give it Mold Breaker. So I ended up doing that, but yeah, it might come to bite me. But double flying, I was like, okay, I can probably play around it, especially since Holucha is like neutral to Edgequake. Like it doesn't get shredded by Edgequake. I thought maybe it'll be okay. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, the only place where I could kind of see maybe putting it is on that Monkey Dory, because you do have like both of the offensive abilities. But I mean, if you've looked at the matchups, it might be just the best thing to not have it on the team.
Yeah, that's fair actually. Yeah, I could fit it on Monkey Dory. I think I wanted Beads of Ruin so that I can still do a bunch of damage, but not lose out on like Sludge Bomb poisons if I like needed it into a certain team or like something like that. And then also I think Sheer Force doesn't boost certain moves that I think I wanted it to boost. I wanted to boost on. I don't remember exactly what it was, but
Focus Blast
there was a
maybe.
reason.
That's the only thing off the top of my head. I think
Focus Blast has a Spadef drop actually.
You might be right on that.
Yeah,
actually.
Focus Blast has a secondary effect.
You're just so good at Mons. Just
Yeah. Yeah, I think this Monkey is gonna. I'm really excited to use it. I think like for once, Monkey might be actually viable in this format.
Yeah, it's kind of mini Chi-Yu, pretty much.
Yeah, literally. Except
but actually has a good speed tier.
Yeah,
and can pivot.
Which is so nice. Like the U-turn or I think it gets. Does it get Parting Shot?
It does.
Shot, yeah. So it's pretty sick. Hopefully I land my Focus Blast, but you know.
Yeah, fingers crossed. You're gonna miss it one week and you go, I'm going no guard next week.
That's so real, man. I might legitimately do that at some point.
Well, you got enough transactions to make. Also, just something that you kept saying that it's 11 mon. You do know it's 10 to 12, right?
Oh, I might be trolling. Yeah, you're right. It is 10 to 12. Yeah, I mean, I think it still is true in a 10-mon format, though. I think like 8-mon formats, like even in 8-mon formats, you struggle to bench two a lot of the time. But in
Yeah.
10 or 11-mon formats, I usually go, like, if it's like 9 to 11, I'll usually go the minimum. I just kind of wanted to have as many options as possible. I didn't really like any of like the 5 pointers to like do like a 5 and 1. So I was just like, okay, I wanna use Pikachu. I think it's pretty funny.
Pikachu is
And Clang.
definitely a sleeper pick. I might be a Clang hater. I don't really see too much of that, but I don't know. Maybe you can prove me wrong. Reboot's also pretty good, and then yeah, Terrapago's pretty good utility.
Yeah, the thing with Clang that really drew me was like it is a Bolt Beamon. Like it is kind of weak. Like 80 base power isn't that strong. But if you get a shift gear up, like it ends up pretty fast. You can do stuff with like gear grind, and then you have like electric coverage plus the ability to do return with refrigerate. So like I think if you get enough shift gears off, which with Eviolite you should be able to get two off, I think it could do some damage.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I mean it definitely is. It is a 2 pointer. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see.
Well, no, it's a one pointer. It's even worse.
Oh, really? Oh. Okay, yeah. It's definitely not rated super high, but I'm gonna bring it to one game. I'm gonna see how it goes.
It's gonna be me, and I'm gonna get 6-0'd.
Yeah, yeah. You should prep for that for sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on and discussing your team. Lovely to have you. And then
Yeah.
I'll move
Thank you
on
so
to the
much for
next
having
one.
me.
No, take care.
Yeah. Bye bye.
That was good old Smaster. And yeah, putting him in S tier. I swear, people, not every team's going to be S tier. I swear. So the next person we have is Boniour of the French Biter Association, where he had a little kind of ruling on himself where he only picked biters. Only mons that he could see would bite someone in the playground. But still came out with a very solid team. So we have Raku with Beta Ruin and Earth Eater. Earth Eater obviously getting rid of its one weakness, so it has 0 weaknesses, and the Beta Ruin means it can hit really hard, not only with its electric type attacks, but also its coverage in things like Scald, Shadow Ball, and Aura Sphere. For Alligator, it's Primordial Sea and Tough Claws. Primordial Sea very good offensively and defensively, like we've said previously, and then Tough Claws, the majority of its attacks are contact, so giving them a boost is just very beneficial. We have Technician and Magic Guard Aerodactyl. Uh, it was kind of a toss-up between the Technician and Aerialate, I do believe, but apparently Technician Dueling Beat is just a little bit better, or around the same, and you can also deal with like Sashmons, and then Magic Guard, meaning you're not running boots, can just be pretty beneficial for this Pokemon. Entei with Desolate Land and Libero. Desolate Land, same Primordial, very good offensively and very good defensively, and then Libero being able to get some stab on some of its other coverage, like Crunch, Stone Edge, Stomping Tantrum, even like Extreme Speed, getting stab on that can just be really, really strong. Durant, Well-Baked Body, and a Sword of Ruin. Well-Baked Body, obviously, the Steel Bug, meaning it has 0 weaknesses, and then Sword of Ruin means it just hits really hard. I don't remember its base attack off the top of my head. I know its speed is 109, I think, but I'm pretty sure it's got pretty good attack. Then we have Granbull, which is Unaware and Pixelate. Kind of fake budget Clef, I guess, with the Unaware. I think he just kind of had to put Unaware somewhere. And then Pixelate. I think like double edges, I'm assuming, can be pretty strong. But it's a 5-point fairy type, and he didn't have much to choose from the biter profile for fairies. We then have Gligar with Regenerator and Soundproof. Soundproof, I think, is for all like the Boom Burst mons, the Aerialate Boom Burst, or Mons that are using like hyper voice for their refrigerate, things like that. And then Regenerator just being a consistent recovery for when it's like you turning out, things like that. We then have Scrafty with Strong Jaw and Shadow Shield. He asked me to put if he could have Strong Jaw on every one of his mons, and I told him no to keep the integrity of my league, and I got called cringe. So who knows? Shadow Shield means this is an incredibly defensive mon, and very good if it's trying to like set up, especially with things like Drain Punch or like Rest. Keep on getting that as Shadow Shield could be pretty good. And then Strong Jaw, I guess there'll be a matchup or two where that'll be beneficial for like the crunch, just to do damage, I guess, when he doesn't want to knock off someone's item. I would then have Fluffy and Dragon's Maw Guzzlord. Can become very strong defensively with that Fluffy due to that incredibly high HP snap. Still with that 4 times weakness to Fairy, and obviously the weakness to Fighting, which is a little unfortunate in a format like this. Or I guess any format, really. And then Dragon's Maw being able, those Dracos, that Dragon Pulses, just do a little bit more damage with that boost. We'll then have Trevenant with Thick Fat and Adaptability. Thick Fat, obviously pretty good for bulky grass types. I'm interested to see how it works in Trevenant. I feel like adaptability comes a lot more, just because it hits so hard naturally. Adaptability can get some Okos, which it didn't originally have. And then I don't know if it's got as much of the bulky profile that the Thick Fat kind of requires, but maybe it can live a hit, maybe 2, with a certain EV spread. We'll have to see in this. And then we got a couple 1-pointers. We have Ghastly, which is Prankster and Corrosion, which can actually be really good. Prankster, I'm pretty sure, gets Destiny Bond to be able to do that. I don't know if this form gets T-Spikes. It does not, from my notes. And then Corrosion, obviously Prankster Toxic on something could be really good. And then we have Quick Draw, Sturdy Trapinch. Being able to hit something with First Impression can actually be pretty strong from a Trapinch. Being sturdy means it can guaranteed get that hit off, and then potentially another one if you like Cuss Step, or you can be something else and like the Quick Draw. Hope it can proc. Quick Claw is banned though, but Quick Draw is allowed. So from my notes, he has 3 Stealth Rockers, 1 Spiker, 1 T-Spike, and 2 Defoggers. He has 1 U-Turn, 1 Volt Switch, and 1 Flip Turn. Priority-wise, he has 1 Aqua Jet, 2 Extreme Speed, 1 Fake Out, and 2 First Impressions. He has 5 Taunt users, 5 Knockoff users, 2 Encore, and 2 Trick. Status-wise, he has 3 T-Wave, 12 Toxic, and 3 Will-O-Wisp. Very good speed tiers. He's Heal Bell on someone, I think Granbull. Yeah, Granbull, I think. So he's got pretty good speed tiers. Fastest mon being the Aerodactyl, into the Raikou, into the Durant, I believe. Yep. So yeah. So pros, very, very strong offensively with things like the Raikou, the Feraligatr, pretty much the top 4, Aerodactyl, Entei. Even the Durant can just be very, very strong for the team. Cons, he's got limited special offense, the main one being Raikou, and I think the next highest is Ghastly. But if we're talking about abilities, it would be like Special Entei, Special Feraligatr, Special Guzzlord, things like that, which can be pretty good, but don't have the stats to kind of back that up. He has limited momentum and 0 spin, so I feel like he's going to be spending more time trying to keep hazards off the side of his field with defog than setting them up, which is not necessarily a really bad thing, but it's not highly ideal, especially when you have like something like Gligar, which wants to be setting up those hazards. So yeah, I'm putting this in the B tier. Right, I'm going to take another drink. Another paper down. We're 2 out of the 8 papers down. Right, next up we have Adura. Right next door of the God Slayer Finneas. Let's send him a ping. By the way, Boniour put in the chat that he's not available and not to ping him. So Adura. Got his favourite mon in the world in Infernate with Prankster and Wallbreaker. Prankster, he gets on talking about all the Prankster Stealth Rock, Prankster Wisp, stuff like that. which, yeah, it could be pretty good. I still think he wanted another, like, offensive ability, maybe like a Desolate Land or something, would have been pretty good here. And then Moldbreaker, obviously, to not deal with those well-baked body mons and things like that. Mainly the well-baked body grass types, because if they're steel, you can hit them with the fighting type anyway. Adura said he'll be in here shortly, so I'll just continue going over some of the mons, and then we'll bring him in. Tangrowth, Thick Fat, and Vessel Ruin. This is a mon that really likes that Thick Fat, meaning it's only weak to bug flying and poison, but it's still so bulky that it can kind of shrug off some of those hits, depending on the set. And then Vessel Ruin just makes it really good SpDef. It can be Vessel Ruin plus Assault Vest and just live so many hits. It's kind of disgusting. We are going to move Adura over so we can talk a bit about his team. Hello. Lovely. All right. I haven't gone through too much of your team, so would you like to say all your mons and why you picked what you picked?
Sure. Just pull up my team. Didn't grab the load. In a second.
It is a big beefy dog.
And I meant the prep doc. So, alright. First mon in Vernape is just because it's my boy, my favorite Pokemon.
Yeah.
I wanted to try it out. Primarily with Prankster, because Vernape has a lot of decent support moves. I thought it'd be fun to try to run at Prankster. Then I also gave it Mold Breaker. Mainly just stop any sort of levitate or well-baked body, stuff like that. And it actually might end up being really useful, as I found against my my first opponent that has an Earth Eater Heat. So I can click Earthquake on it. Tangrowth, this is just evil, thick fat Vessel of Ruin Tangrowth. They're just not die and family cheat on anything. And Sharpness Cleavor is the only mod that I kept its ability. It's just because Sharpness is such a good ability that if you get rid of it for anything else, you're almost nerfing it. So keeping Sharpness on that. Mega Manectric, one of my favorite, if not my favorite megas. And I thought, it'd be really fun giving it Electric Surge to just boost Thunderbolt. And then also giving it Intimidate for double Intimidate. Since those abilities only matter on regular Manectric and they go back to Intimidate on Mega Manectric.
Yeah,
Mantine. Yeah, so that's why it's the double Intim. Mantine, this is kind of in the same vein as Tango. Just bulky and getting rid of its biggest weakness with Volt Absorb. And then also Filter Stream as well in case I'm running into any Desolate Land or Primordial Sea matchups. Specifically Desolate Land, where Mantine can be really useful. Quillfish.
I think you're thinking Airlock.
Huh?
Delta Stream gets rid of any of its like flying weakness. I think you mean Airlock.
Delta Stream,
no, that's Airlock.
Override. I thought it did. I thought Delta Stream also overrode Primordial Weather.
Not as far as I'm aware. That's Airlock. That does that.
I know people. I guess I'm thinking because I know people ran Mega Rayquaza a lot during VGC when Groudon and Kyogre were rampant.
Because regular Rayquaza has Airlock.
Regular.
And then it becomes. It's fine. You got multiple changes in the season. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Yeah, but another reason I had that stream as well is to remove its flying weaknesses too.
Yeah.
Quillfish. I think the Quillfish was probably the one mon that I got sniped from the most. I originally had.
I know, and then you sniped me. I had to get Skuntank.
I wanted Overgrowth. And then that got taken, and I made a deal with Bonnier that I'd let him get Drapion, and then Drapion got that from both of us. So I really needed that Poison Dark. So I was like, all right, here's Certain Quillfish. Let's go with that. And then I gave it Earth Eater and Corrosion. Earth Eater is obviously to give it its only weakness, and I gave it Corrosion because I knew that some people would try to run like really bulky sets with like almost no weaknesses. So then running Corrosion meant that I can guarantee toxic anything, except poison types, obviously, but guaranteed poison just about anything.
Corrosion does poison types as well.
Does it really?
Yeah, it poisons everything.
Oh, sick. Well, that's another reason. Gastro, I could have had. Actually, no, I couldn't get Swampert because Swampert was taken first pick. So I ended up going with Gastro instead. Sap Zipper and Regenerator, just like two best abilities can give it. Cryogonal was out of a necessity, because I only had one real removal, which was Mantine, and I was like, all right, I need a spinner. So I gave it Galvanize, because if anything was to switch in to like a Galvanized Rapid Spin, well, I'm an Ice type, so I can just click like Freeze Dry on it, and I can predict that way.
Yeah, Bulbin's
then also
best
give it
coverage
Magic
in the
Guard.
game.
Yeah, exactly. I also give it Magic Guard to just so that it can be like my guaranteed hazards removal with that as well.
Yeah, don't have to run boots because you're not going to hit rocks or anything like that.
Yep, that's right. Cursula was one of the ones that was suggested to me to grab. I don't remember what I wanted originally, but I thought, you know what, Cursula's pretty cool. So I gave it
Palisand, but you got Gastro.
Yeah, I wanted
instead.
the Palisand. That's right. I wanted the Palisand, and then because I got Gastro, it was like another ground type, and it didn't really help too much. Even though I guess Gastro is immune to grass, so it didn't really matter much. But I decided to go with Cursula instead. And since Cursula has like negative defense, so I try to give it abilities that would help mitigate that the most with Fluffy and Tablets of Ruin. And the last 3 months as well will also kind of help out too, because I purposely got Rapidash and Indeedee. I'll talk about that in a second, but Rapidash and Indeedee because they both get Trick Room. So if I have the Trick Room up with Cursula and Gilb with Scrappy Body Press, that's kind of the idea with that there. Obviously, that would take together with ground weakness. Rapidash was my fairy types because all the fairies were like all the good fairies were gone, and I was like, I don't know what else to grab. Klefki was there, but I couldn't get Prankster on it since I already have it on Fernape. And I just felt like it kind of needs Prankster to do its job. Otherwise, like you'd have to let it take a hit before it gets a status move off. And it can take 1 to 2 hits, but having that Prankster is just really useful.
It really
so I went with Rapidash.
Yeah,
I went with Rapidash, and I gave it Dump on Ice because all of its moves have a chance to miss for some reason. And then Tough Claws just in case if like I'm ideally trying to 2-shot things. It's not going to Oko anything, but if I can get it to 2-coast certain things, maybe Tough Claws will kind of hit that brick point, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I was really upset that it doesn't get Pivot. I thought it got U-Turn, but it doesn't.
Nope.
It would have been so nice to have Trick Room U-Turn.
See, that is one of the cons on your team. So now you've said that.
Yeah, I have no pivot.
Yeah.
My pivot is U-Turn on Infernape and Volt Switch on Manectric. Actually, I guess Cleaver also gets U-Turn, actually.
Yeah. So I've just got myself like little notes that I've made before this. So you have 5 Stealth Rockers, and you also had like the Stone X with Cleaver. You have 2 Spikers, 1 T-Spike, 3 Defoggers, and 1 Spin. Momentum-wise, you have 2 U-Turn Mons and 1 Volt Switch, like you said. Priority, you've got Aqua Jet, 2 Fake Out Users, Ice Shard, Mark Punch, Vacuum Wave. Those are like the main ones.
Yep.
I think you have like Sucker Punch here and there, but not really going to be used by the Mons that get it. You have 3 Taunt, 3 Knockoff, 2 Encore, a Trick, and a Switcheroo, which are pretty good. Status-wise, you got a Stun Spore in Tangrowth. You got a T-Wave Mon, 8 Toxic, and 3 Will-O-Wisp. Speed tier-wise, okay speed tiers. You got that very fast 135, but then there is that massive gap between the 135 going down to the Inferno, which means if anyone has like a...
I had a Swallow in the plans to kind of help bridge that. But I think I'm
sniped by Honch again.
I don't remember if Honch back there, if I saw it. Like, I have to like look back at our DMs and see when did I have hold on. When did I have Swallow? Oh dear Lord.
So yeah, that was one of
I had it pretty early on. But I had to swap away from it. I think it's because I had Lantern originally.
That does somewhat ring a bell. But
I had
you're
Lantern originally.
So if anything's like base, I think Inferno's 108. So anything that's base 109, that's like a Scarfer, just outspeed your entire team, which is a little unfortunate.
It is.
You have 2 Healing Wish Mons in, I'm pretty sure it's the Indeedee and that Galarian Rapidash. So something like that Trick Room that you were going for into like a Healing Wish could be pretty good. And then I think you got 1 Aromatherapy.
Especially if I have like, if I'm being like a Scarf Cleavor in the back and I have like rocks up, having that Healing Wish could actually win me a game.
Yeah, it's definitely very good. For pros for the team that I've got, you have some good defensive Mons with very beneficial defensive abilities, like that Bastiodon with the Levitate, the Cursor with having the fluffy Tablet of Ruin, obviously that obnoxious Tangrowth with thick fat Vessel of Ruin, absolutely disgusting, obviously the Mantine with Volt Absorb and Delta Stream, and then obviously the Sap Sipper Gastrodon having 0 weaknesses as well as Regenerator to keep its health up. The cons to the team: you have limited offensive abilities. You're adamant that you're adamant that you want this Prankster Inferno when I think maybe like a Desolate Land or instead of
honestly,
the Cryogonal, if you had Magic Guard on it,
might just be the main ability that I keep on it because it is
Mold Breaker is really good.
Yeah, its move pool is so diverse that it just kind of hits. Like, for example, Swampert, Swaps with Swampert. Well, guess what? I have Mold Breaker. Unless they run like an ability shield, but then that's me forcing them to run an item.
Yeah.
And I can predict that like a knockoff if it's trying to switch in or something else. Like I have all the knockoff users in my team as well.
Yeah, you have 3 knockoffs.
Is pretty decent.
Yeah, I can see that coming a lot more than Prankster. Other things I've put for cons is you have no Primordial Seat or no Desolate Land. This is a lot of teams are very good, so I'm kind of nitpicking. These are some of the abilities which I think are like just some of the best in the format, because not only are they really good offensively, but also defensively they're very good. I think this comes from you thinking Delta Stream was airlock.
I did,
but that's something that can change.
I can, I'll probably actually, now that I think about it, I have 2 abilities I want to change now. I want to change Prankster off of Inferno, but I'm going to change Delta Stream off of Mantine and probably...
Yeah, and that would help your team a lot. I've got that you're also somewhat weak to water with that Inferno, the Cleavor. Obviously, you do have that Tangrowth, but if someone's got like a water type with, obviously it gets natural like ice coverage. Thick Fat can be good, but also you've got, I think... a lot of these water types get flying coverage. I might be wrong. But yeah, that was just something.
If flying coverage, then I'll probably just end up going with Vessel of Ruin instead.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident in defense.
Yeah, I'm very nitpicking, not gonna lie. And then obviously that limited momentum with just the 2 U-turn and 1 Volt Switch. So overall, So the tiering is S, A, B, C, D. I'm putting you in the C tier.
Let's go!
But if you make those
Come on,
changes,
B tier.
honestly, if you make those 2 changes, I'd probably put you in the B tier.
Let's go! I've been talking as well with, I think you're also part of this conversation too, of dropping either Mantan or Gastro because they kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
And probably getting something else. Probably something a little bit more offensive, actually. The team is suffering from offenses.
Yeah, you got pretty good defensive profile, but having something just a bit more offensive. Maybe seeing if there's anything more in that speed tier range between the Infernape and Mega Manetric. It might be difficult to try and find, but there might be something out there. I don't know.
I could see in the 14 tier. I mean, how fast is Obstacle? I'm pretty sure it's not that fast.
It's less than 100. I'm pretty sure.
I think it's like 95. I remember.
Yeah, there's unfortunately not a lot of fast stuff available.
How fast is Arcanine?
100.
I think it's 100. Yeah, it doesn't really help you there.
Yeah, I'm seeing I guess Cincino is base 115. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of fast stuff remaining.
I could get Heliolisk, but that's another electric type. And I already have Levitate and Earth Eater used up.
And I don't think that really helps your speed tiers. I think is that 109?
It's base 109.
Yeah. So it's right next to your Infernape. So it'd help a bit, but it wouldn't help massively. Yeah, it's just something that you're going to keep on having to look for. Even asking people for trades. I've seen more trades in this league than anywhere else during Grace. It wouldn't help asking people. During Grace, I had multiple people who were just like, oh yeah, by the way, we're switching half of our team with each other. I was like, oh, okay. That makes sense why you're getting some of these picks. Fair enough. Yeah. All right, well, that's everything to do with your team. Thank you very much for coming on and discussing what you picked and why you picked it. And then I'll move on to the next team. Always a pleasure, Adura.
Always a pleasure indeed.
Right. God, I feel bad telling them the score while they're here. Right, so next up we have Syth. I'm running out of water, so we're going to do the last one before I take a little break. So you might see a bit of a cut. So now we have good old Syth, the other Brit, whose team is the It's Never Daramarkova. The team consists of Dominaten with Airlock and Sword of Ruin. So obviously the Airlock preventing things like the Primordial Sea, so it can still get those fire hits instead of having something like that Desolate Land. It's actually pretty smart. I think it's definitely a good thing. And then Sword of Ruin just doing a whole lot of damage. Very strong mon, difficult to switch into. We then have Kilowattrel with Primordial Sea and Refrigerate, giving it near untouchable, or unguardable, I should say, coverage. Primordial Sea, meaning its hurricanes and things are 100% accurate, and also giving it access to Weatherball. I should probably ask Syth to see if he's around. Refrigerate, obviously, Bolt Beam being the strongest type combo available. It's just really strong, really obnoxious. I'm a little sad he didn't go Serene Grace like I suggested to him to be Mini Shaman Sky, but he wasn't interested. We then have Hippaldon, which has such a great defensive profile in this with Fluffy and Sapsipper. I think the majority of the time is probably going to come Fluffy, but there will be certain matchups, especially with Grassy Surge Mons, where Sapsipper just looks really, really good. Good Rocker can also whirlwind things to get them away. Tentacruel with Scrappy and Visceral Rune. Visceral Ruin plus Assault Vest means this is such a great, specially defensive wall. And then Scrappy means nothing can block your rapid spins, which is just amazing. Also Grounded Poison, which is chef's kiss. Then we have Duraludon with Magikarp and Tablet of Ruin. I don't really know what the idea of drafting Duraludon was, because I had to tell him that Magikarp Steel Beam was a thing. Because I think he was going to go with other abilities on it. Maybe just because, yes, Steel Dragon is an amazing defensive typing, especially when it can have Eviolite, but otherwise Duraludon hasn't seen too much success in low tier, but in almost any ability, maybe it will, especially with those Magikarp Steel Beams being near unguardable. It's going to be very difficult to switch into. Then have Hatterene with Regenerator and Prankster, two very good abilities on it, being able to keep itself healthy with the Regenerator, and then Prankster, it gets things like T-Wave, I believe it gets screens as well, though, without Light Clay. Maybe a single screen will go up. We then have Mega Absol. So I don't know if Adura said it, mentioned it, because he was talking about the double Intimidate, but the way that Megas work in this format is that the abilities that are given only work for the pre-Megas, and the Mega Pokemon have their usual abilities. So pre-Mega is going to have Shadow Shield and Intimidate, and then when it Mega Evolves, it will have that Magic Bounce. Gives it another good speed tier, I think, in between, at this point, Kilowattrel and Tentacruel, which is very good for the team, and obviously it's the only Magic Bounce Mon allowed in the format since that ability is banned. We then have Hitmonchan with Technician and Adaptability. Technician meaning some of its like priority can do a bit more damage, and then Adaptability. Adaptability, close combat of Drain Punch can actually do pretty good damage in certain matchups. Glaceon is Galvanize and Beats of Ruin. Obviously, Galvanize, Ice-type, best coverage in the game, Bolt Beam, and then Beats of Ruin mean it can, in certain matchups, do a whole lot of damage and break through teams. And then finally we have Go-Go, Grassy Surge and Thick Fat. Another bulky grass type with Thick Fat, as well as something that can be more offensive with that Grassy Surge ability, doing those Grassy Glides, things like that. The things we got, he's got 2 Rockers, 1 T-Spiker, and 2 Spinners. Momentum-wise, it's got 2 U-Turn, 1 Volt Switch, and 1 Flip Turn. It has, for priority, Bullet Punch, Fake Out, Ice Shard, and Mach Punch. It has 3 Taunt users, 3 Knockoff users, 2 Encore, and 2 Trick. It has 1 Nuzzle, 4 T-Wave, 7 Toxic, and 3 Will-O-Wisps. A very solid speed tiers, highest being Kilowattrel, going into that Mega Absol, into, I believe, the Tentacruel. Yep, still very solid speed tiers. It's got 1 Healing Wish, 1 Heal Bell, and 1 Aromatherapy Mon. Pros, fantastic offense. Darmanitan is so difficult to switch into for any team in this format. It's one of the best 19-pointers available, in my opinion. Kilowattrel is also another thing that's just so difficult to switch into, paired with the Duraludon. Both of them are going to be so hard to try and consistently make switches into. And he's also got great defense, obviously with that Hippowdon, the Tentacruel, Hatterene, and Go-Go. Covers himself very, very well. And stuff can just come consistently to any game. The cons, slightly ground weak, since he doesn't have any ground immunity abilities. I know he has Grassy Surge Go-Go, and that can soak up a lot of the ground hits. But a lot of his offense and defense are weak to ground, such as the Darmanitan, the Tentacruel, and the Duraludon. He has no spikes, and there is also the limited momentum. Though with this, his main mons are the ones with the momentum, the Darmanitan, the Kilowattrel, the Tentacruel, and yeah, that's all the momentum he has. So yeah, this team is going in S. Right. Okay, so next up we have Cavern, and where is he? Cavern and the Punching Use. His team consists of Swampert with Regenerator and Sapsiver, another Water ground type with no weaknesses due to Sapsiver, and then Regenerator to keep as much, to actually give it some recovery. And this is one that's actually frequently seen in the normal, almost any ability tier, so it's very, very good. We then have Tinkerton with Steely Spirit and Well-Baked Body. Well-Baked Body obviously getting rid of one of its major weaknesses, and then Steely Spirit meaning that Gigaton Hammer is going to have absolutely no switch-ins, is going to do so much damage. Iron Jugulis, Sheer Force, and Gale Wings. Gale Wings giving it that priority, and then Sheer Force meaning it can hit really hard with a lot of its coverage. Bromogast with adaptability and aerolate. Another thing that's actually seen frequent use in the almost any ability tier with adaptability, because its stabs just hit so much harder. I believe it has this 115 attack, and just really strong. And then aerolate meaning its rapid spins can be covered. And then obviously if it gets something like Terra Blast, I don't think it gets Double Edge or anything like that to deal with opposing grass types. We have Overcoil with Mold Break and Prankster. Prankster makes a whole lot of sense with its spikes, T-spikes, even things like Destiny Bond. I'm not 100% sure on Mold Breaker for an ability for it, so I'll be interested in how that will play out. Espeon, Pixelate, and Psychic Surge. Psychic Surge meaning its Psychic type attacks do so much damage, and it's really beneficial. And then Pixelate, obviously, Pixelate Hyper Voice giving it another very common coverage that we see Psychic types use to beat down those Dark types. We then have Hisuian Decidueye with Serene Grace and Windrider. Windrider getting rid of that 4x weakness to flying with certain moves with a, I believe, +1 attack. So things like the Hurricanes and that, being able to switch in those and then become even stronger. And then Serene Grace boosting the triple arrows, which is just a broken move. I can see this coming a lot as a choice scarfer for him. We then have Braviary with Magic Guard and Intimidate, which I think is pretty good for this one, honestly. Magic Guard meaning it doesn't have to have heavy duty boots. And obviously Intimidate, weakening physically offensive mons. We then have Rotom Heat with Earth Eater and Refrigerate. Obviously Refrigerate giving it the best coverage in the game in Electric plus Ice. And then obviously that Fire type Overheat still doing a whole lot of damage to things like the Steel types that might want to try and get this. Hold on, Cavern is responding. Do you want to talk about your team for the PRs? And then finally we have Dracloak, Perish Body, and Aromavel. Good speed tier for a 2-pointer, definitely. Perish Body can become very annoying depending on the matchup. And then Aromavel, meaning I believe it can't get taunted. We're just going to wait 1 second to see if he wants to join for the PRs. But I'll just list off some of the stuff that he has. So he has 2 Stealth Rockers, 2 Spikers, 1 T-Spike, 3 Defoggers, and 1 Spin. He has 4 U-Turn, 1 Volt Switch, and 1 Flip Turn for momentum. He has 3 Taunt, 4 Knockoff, 1 Encore, and 2 Trick. And he has, for priority, Aqua Jet, Fake Out, and 2 Shadow Sneaks. For status, forgetting my words, 4 T-Wave, 5 Toxic, and 2 Wisp. He has okay speed tiers, and he also gets Heal. But highest being 110 in the Espeon really holds him back, unfortunately. Pros of the team is some of the best defensive mons in the format in the Swampert plus Tinkerton, as well as being backed up by things like the Overcool and the Rotom Heat, which is really beneficial for his team. As well as the great offensive pieces, Iron Jugulis, Bramblegast, Espeon, Hisuian Decidueye, as well as that Tinkerton clicking that Gigaton Hammer. It's just incredibly powerful with that Steely Spirit. It's just really good. Cons, obviously, the max speed tier being 110. It's not ideal. And the Ice Weakness. This was a little bit of a hard one to place, as I'm putting it in the A tier. I think it's a very good team. It's just got some stuff that holds it back. But then I also had things in my mind like him having multiple mons that are normally seen in almost any ability tier is just makes it so strong. So it's kind of teetering, but I think I'm going to have to put it in A tier, mainly for those speed tiers. He hasn't responded, so we're going to assume that he's not interested. And we're going to move on to Thriller of the Iowa Jolteons. Fun fact, my week 1 opponent. So Thriller has a scary team of Mega Houndoom. As I said previously, Megas only work the abilities before they Mega Evolve. So Drought and Mummy. So the Drought means you can set up its Sun for it, and then going to the Solar Power Mega Houndoom just means it's such an absolute nuke. That's why it's a 19 pointer. And then Mummy could be like an interesting thing. It might come to like 1 week where you want to switch in, take something else's ability. So it's not as strong as it could be, or not as defensive as it could be. Suicune has Tablets of Rune and Immunity. Tablets of Rune means this is a very, very strong physically defensive wall. And the immunity, I think this was a little bit of a miscommunication. So in the format, sleep moves are banned. And I think Thriller took that as rest is also something they can't have, hence the immunity to stop things like a Toxic to whittle this down. So we might see that change in future weeks, just for a bit of better ability. I could see maybe Volt Absorb or Sap Sipper being really good for this, or Primordial Sea, I think, would be very beneficial. You then have his favourite mon in Jolteon, and something that's probably actually priced a little bit lower in hindsight with Refrigerate and Levitate. Levitate meaning it has absolutely no weaknesses, and then Refrigerate giving it, obviously, the thing that we normally see on these electric types, having now Bolt Beam coverage. We then have Galarian Weezing with Earth Eater and Prankster. Prankster's really good. Prankster T-Spikes, Prankster Wisp, Prankster Destiny Bond, and then Earth Eater, because it couldn't have that Levitate. But now it's a Grounded Poison, which is very good, soaking up some of the opposing T-Spikes. Then we have Fortress, obviously the well-baked body, Steel and Bug, meaning now it has absolutely no weaknesses, and then Vessel of Ruin, just to be a bit more of a Spadef wall, just to try and take those hits just a little bit better. Obviously, a good spinner. I think it's all of the hazards, the Stealth Rock, the spikes, the T-Spikes. We then have Runerigus, being Frisk and Filter. There's a little bit of an interesting one with Frisk. I guess it could be very beneficial to know immediately someone else's ability. I feel like a majority of time this is going to come as Filter. This is really obnoxious mon, especially if he's like Filter, Weakness Policy, Trick Room. Just to be able to get those Trick Room and then kind of with a Weakness Policy be able to do massive damage, or even trying to sweep by itself, and then the Filter kind of guaranteeing that's happening because it just becomes so obnoxiously bulky. I would then have a Suian Braviary with Magic Guard and Compound Eyes. Magic Guard obviously meaning it doesn't have to hold heavy duty boots and can be like a Life Orb and become a lot stronger, and Compound Eyes meaning it can hit its hurricanes and air slashes like that. We're seeing a lot of Compound Eyes instead of No Guard. I think this is so that opposing mons don't guaranteed hit it, because it doesn't want to get hit by those like stone edges, or if someone's going to bring like Zap Cannon into you, which could be pretty funny, or even just like Thunder. We then have Lycanroc Dusk with Sword of Ruin and Moxie. Moxie's a little interesting. It might be opinion-based, but I feel like Beast Boost might have been a little bit better, just because you have the option of boosting your speed as well. But that's kind of nitpicking. And Sword of Ruin means it just hits so hard. One of his better physically offensive threats. We then have Rillaboom with Galvanize and Natural Cure. It's a little bit interesting. With the Galvanize, I guess it's like Galvanize Fake Out. If you want it to be special, it gets Boom Burst, I know that. And then like Double Edge, I think it's like Facade, Body Slam, things like that. So you can have Grass and Electric, which is a good type combo offensively, which could be pretty good for them on. And then obviously Natural Cure, if you wanted to come in, take a Will-O-Wisp or a Toxic, and then be able to U-turn out and get rid of that status, could be pretty good. And then he has Scrappy, Libero, Crabominable. really hard to switch into. Fighting is one of the better offensive typings in this format, or I guess in general in draft. Just really, really obnoxious, very hard to switch into. Especially with that scrappy, meaning ghost types can't do it, and then the libero, meaning you can get rid of that. A little bit of a weak defensive typing in the fighting ice. You can come just a pure fighting or like a pure coverage typing. So the information that I've got down here is he's got 3 Stealth Rockers, 1 Spiker, 3 T-Spikers, 2 Defog, and 1 Spin. He has 2 U-Turn, 2 Volt Switch. He has priority-wise Extreme Speed, Fake Out, and a Cell Rock. He has 5 Taunt users, 2 Knockoff, and 1 Trick. Status, he has 2 T-Wave, 6 Toxic, and 3 Will-O-Wisps. Very good speeders, going from that Jolteon at 130 to Mega Houndoom 115, down to that Lycanroc Dusk at 110. There is a little bit of a gap between 110 and 85, which I believe is the Suicune. I think it's the Suicune. Which is just a little bit of a larger gap than we would like to see, but it is what it is. He does have 1 Heal Bell and 1 Aromatherapy. So pros to this team, it's very strong offensively. Mega Houndoom plus Jolteon plus Hisuian Bravery plus Lycanroc Dust plus Crabominable are so difficult to try and deal with altogether defensively. And then he's also got those great defensive pieces, the Suicune, the Galarian Weezing, the Fortress, the Runerigus, which can also be offensive, like the Body Presses, the EQs if it gets like a weakness policy boost. Just really, really strong. Cons of this team is that it's got no Primal Sea and no Desolate Land. You're going to hear this obviously a lot because I think there's some of the best abilities in here. So I think that Suicune can change the immunity into the Primordial Sea, because it's just such a good 1 offensive and 2 defensive ability for your team. And it's not like Drizzle where it can be taken away by just Drought, and it's not going to affect the rest of your team. You're not going to end up having like Weather Balls going into your Runerigus or your Lycanroc Dusk, which is very, very cool. It's slightly Ghost Weak, with its only resistance being that Mega Houndoom, so especially before it's Mega'd, hard-hitting Ghost types, I know they're far and few between in low tier, but it's something just to be a little bit aware of, so that's your only resist. And then you're also slightly Water Weak. I know you've got that Suicune and the Rillaboom to help mitigate that weakness, obviously, as well as like the Drought from Mega Houndoom. But something like these Primordial Sea Mons can be really strong offensively into you. Especially some of your other threats like the Runerigus and the Lycanroc Dust don't like to be taking these water type hits. Overall, this is a very solid team, and I'm going to put it in A. By the way, I don't remember if I mentioned, these are in no particular order in these tiering. All of these are S. I wouldn't know which way to put one over the other, so it's just going to be considered that. Okay, another paper down. I think we're halfway through. We are halfway through. If I haven't said or you couldn't tell by now, I am sick. I went to a festival and then come back and blocked nose, cough, all of the above. Very fun. So I'm drinking lots of water. Right, so next up we have I accidentally closed Discord. We have Jax and the something Torracats. Where are you, Jax? Here. The Nashville Torracats. We're going to get big old Jax to see if he wants to come on. I think a lot of these people are away, so busy lives, so maybe they'll come on, maybe they won't. So he starts off with Empoleon, which kind of hurts me, as I really wanted Empoleon in this. It was between Ogerpon and Empoleon, which I got first, and I decided Ogerpon since I have used Empoleon before, but I really wanted Empoleon. He had Volt Absorb and Primordial Sea. I think it's 2 of the better abilities with this mon, definitely the Primordial Sea. I think what I would have slightly preferred to see is instead of Volt Absorb on this, Magic Guard, as this is also a mon that gets Steel Beam, and it's got a very decent special attack, very usable with this Steel Beam, and would just give this team more of an offensive presence. We then have a Togekiss with Technician and Unaware. I think Technician is because Draining Kiss now becomes like as strong as Moonblast, like Decleam, and you also get that recovery, and then obviously Unaware is such a good defensive ability to try and stop these like setup mons. It's also a mon that is immune / resists both of like the main spammable things into Unaware mons, being like the Draco Meteors, which is immune to, the Leaf Storms, which it now resists. There are some which it doesn't, such as obviously the Overheats, but I'm pretty sure it's tanky enough that it can take it. We then have Crobat with Toxic Chain and Magic Guard. A little bit interesting in this one. Obviously, he wants to try and pop that Toxic Chain with U-Turn. I think I would have preferred, honestly, like Poison Puppeteer, as that was legal in this. Just for you to like manually Toxic could have been pretty cool. And then getting that Confusion as well would have been just absolutely obnoxious. Magic Guard is pretty good on this because now it doesn't need to hold heavy duty boots, but like I said before, I think I would have preferred to see it on that Empoleon. But that might just be nitpicking. We next have Manaweta. We kind of knew that he wanted this mon, as he talked about it quite a lot. He went Regenerator and Sheer Force. Sheer Force means it can actually be very, very strong. I do love Meloetta, and then Regenerator gives it some reliable recovery, which is always good. Ghost, being Prankster and Wellbake Body, Prankster, getting that Prankster Wisp. It can't Prankster Strength Sap since we banned that, as you probably heard with S-Master. Prankster mons can have, obviously, Prankster, but you can't have him on the same set. And then Wellbake Body, getting rid of that fire weakness is always fantastic. We then have Miltank with Protein and Fluffy. Fluffy's probably the main ability that you're going to see it used, just become that really bulky, obnoxious normal type, especially since it can like set up rocks and then milk drink a lot of the damage away. And then Protein, some weeks, if it doesn't want to be that normal type, it can come out of it. I don't know if it gets like Shadow Claw or something to try and become immune to fighting, but there are a lot of scrappy mons anyway. Scrappy fighting types, I should say, and specify. So that can become obnoxious for him, but can go on to different typings just to be a little bit more stronger offensively and potentially defensively on the matchup. He then has Raichu with Galvanize and Refrigerate. Obviously, Bolt Beam, absolutely amazing. Galvanize means it does a little more damage with its electric type attacks. I'm assuming like Hyper Voices and also like extreme speed. And then Refrigerate, obviously, giving it the best coverage. Torkoal has Mold Breaker and Desolate Land. Very, very good. Mold Breaker to hit through those Wellbake Body mons, and then Desolate Land just to be an absolute nuke on some things. Like if you can get a mod to switch in that's not Primordial Sea or Airlock into like an Eruption, even if it is Airlock into an Eruption, will probably still do a very good amount of damage. It's also a Spinner and I believe Stealth Rocker. Yeah, I think Torkoal has Stealth Rocks. Yeah. Heracross as well, Sturdy and Sword of Ruin becomes a very strong physical attacker with Sword of Ruin, and then with Sturdy it can potentially get up a free Trailblaze and something like that, because it lacks slightly in the speed department, but is a very good offensive threat. We then have Mavostiff with Strong Jaw and Cotton Down. This is a very interesting one. Mavostiff is, as itself, is not the best mon, and since Stakeout is a banned ability, I'm interested to see how it's used. Strongjaw, it does get a lot of biting moves, obviously with it being a dog. I think it's all of the Fang moves, as well as like Crunch is its main dark type attack, so it can do a pretty good amount of damage. And then Calm Down's a little interesting. I guess if you wanted to sack it and trying to lower something's speed, it could be pretty fun, and I'd like to see how it's used. And then as a one-pointer, Marsh Tomp, Sap Sipper, Intimidate. Sap Sipper, obviously, no weakness, can be surprisingly bulky with Evil Light, and then Intimidate, weakening those physical attackers. As I take a sip of water. It still surprises me how I can spend hours in a call with friends and barely need a drink, and then as soon as I start recording, it's like every other second I need to be taking a sip. It's very amusing. So he has 4 Stealth Rockets, 1 Spiker, 3 Defoggers, and 1 Spin. He has 2 U-Turn, 1 Volt Switch, 1 Flip Turn. Priority-wise, he has Aqua Jet, 2 Extreme Speed, 1 Fake Out, 1 Shadow Sneak, and 2 Vacuum Wave. He has 2 Taunt Users, 4 Knockoffs, 2 Encore, and 3 Tricks. He has, for status, 1 Nuzzle, 4 T-Wave, 10 Toxic, and 2 Will-O-Wisp. And overall, he has pretty good speeders, going from Crobat into, I believe, the Raichu. So it's a little bit of a gap between, but it's not the biggest deal. Has a lot of solid mons that can come consistently every week, especially those top 4. I guess Heracross, depending on the matchups, will be really, really strong. Cons to the team, it struggles to consistently take hits from opponents. I know the Meloetta and a lot of the mons can now like heal themselves up, but I still think with more of these defensive abilities, some of this stuff is going to get too cold, which can be very annoying for Jax. Also, his more offensive threats on the team do feel like they get pushed into a defensive role. Like I said, for those top 4, which would like to be a little more offensive for the team, I feel like kind of get pigeonholed into a defensive role just due to the composition of the team. He has no grounded poison since obviously his poison type is Crobat, and then obviously he's pretty ice weak with the double flying and the Gorgeist. Overall, this is still a very solid team. I would personally like to see some changes, but obviously that's nitpicking. Overall, I think this is a B team. Finally, we get to me, the real S tier. Take another sip. So, my team consists of Ogerpon with Grassy Surge and Sword of Ruin. Grassy Surge giving me that priority with Grassy Glide, and then obviously extra hard hitting Ivy Cudgels, and then Sword of Ruin means a lot of my coverage just becomes a lot stronger overall, which is Chef's Kiss. With Garganacl with Unaware and Magikarp. Unaware to deal with some of those setup threats, and then Magikarp meaning I don't take things like T-Spikes and stuff like that, or just Toxic in general, which can be pretty good. We have Glisspod, Tough Claws, and Primordial Sea. Most of its coverage is contact, so Tough Claws do seem like one of the best options for it, and then Primordial Sea is both good offensively and defensively. I'm going to say it every time. Hooper, Beads of Ruin, and Queenly Majesty. Beads of Ruin, this becomes not as good type-wise, but stronger Chi-Yu, pretty much. And not as good speed, even though Chi-Yu's speed is pretty lackluster at base 100. This is base 70, so not the greatest speeder, but can just be an absolute nuke into teams. And then Queenly Majesty, mainly to stop those priority, mainly the suck punches that's coming its way, because it's 4 times weak to both Dark and Ghost, so also those Shadow Sneaks, trying to prevent them if I can, because I have negative defense and 4 times weakness, so I die. Cycles are Aerolate and Turbo Blaze. Turbo Blaze, obviously, it's just another mold breaker, which allows it to hit some of the mons that try and have no weaknesses, mainly those Bug Steals and those those Water Grounds, because it gets both fire coverage in Overheat and Temper Flare, and it gets grass coverage in Power Whip. Skuntank, Earth Eater, and Vessel Ruin. A poison and dark type with a ground immunity ability, obviously 0 weaknesses, and then Vessel Ruin means it could be a very good special wall for the team, which I was kind of lacking at the moment, mainly having the physical walls. I do have the special wall of Hooper, but the double 4 times weakness was very unfortunate. We then had Gerda with Fluffy and Technician. Technician for those priorities. Mainly the Mock Punch doing a bit more damage, as well as I'm pretty sure it gets Force Palm. So that 60 can turn into a 90 base power, which can potentially paralyze my opponent, which is good. Though mainly I'll probably be running Fluffy as a lot of like the non-contact hits are stuff that I resist anyway. The stuff like the Stone Edge, which is pretty good. We then have Electrode, fastest mon in the game, though people will probably ignore it as it's not the strongest. With Refrigerate, obviously, Electric with Ice coverage, best in the game. And then No Guard Zap Cannon was just funny. That's why I wanted it. Galarian Stunfisk, Wallbait Body and Levitate, getting rid of two of its major weaknesses. Steel Ground is very good. I wish it got momentum. I wish regular Stunfisk got momentum, but unfortunately it doesn't. Pretty decent rocker, and then can kind of come to certain matchups where I really need that immunity. Swadloon, 1-pointer, gets with Sturdy and Prankster. Just try and guarantee Sticky Webs going up in the matchup. It's pretty much all it's there for. Simisear, Desolate Land, and Protein. Desolate Land, probably, if it's going to come, that's what the ability is going to be, just to be a very strong fire type. And then Protein, it gets surprising coverage in things like Gunk Shot and things like that, to become mini Cinderace. And then finally we have technically the best one on the team, but I got it at the end because you can only get one 19-pointer, and the majority of people got theirs first. In Primarina with Regenerator and Volt Absorb. Regenerator giving it reliable recovery, and then Bolt Absorb, because my team needed something that's not Galarian Stunfisk to take those electric type attacks. And it's something like Smaster was saying earlier, having that water type, but also being immune to electric means all these Bolt Beamons kind of struggle into you. Brilliant. So overall I've got 2 Stealth Rockers, 2 Spikers, 1 T-Spike, 2 Defog, and 1 Spin. I have 2 U-Turn, 1 Volt Switch, and 1 Flip Turn. I have 2 Aqua Jet, I have First Impression and Muck Punch. I have 8 Taunt users, 7 Knockoff users, 2 Encore, 1 Trick, and 1 Switcheroo. And then for status, I have 3 T-Wave, 8 Toxic, and 1 Will-O-Wisp. I have pretty good speeches. I have the fastest mon in the game, going down into the Cyclozar, into the Ogerpon, into, I think Skuntank is next. So it's fine. A little bit of gap between the Ogerpon and the Skuntank, which is not really ideal. Oh no, I lied. I have Simisear. Never mind, my speed tiers are absolutely perfect. Simisear at 101, in between those two. Nothing wrong with my speed tiers. The pros, I've got very strong offense. Ogerpon plus Gliscod plus Hooper plus Primarina are very difficult for people to try and switch into, which is very good. And then I've got a decent defensive profile with that Primarina, like I said, as well as the Garganacl, Skuntank, and Gerda. The cons, I struggle to choose 6 months for a matchup. Currently building for my week 1. I want to try and bring 8 mons, which it's very annoying to try and choose, who do I bring, who do I not. I'm flying weak, which is not ideal, with some of my strongest stuff being the Ogerpon and the Gliscod. I wish I had more flying resists. Well, I've got Garganacl and Galarian Stunfisk, but with certain coverage, they get blown up as well. And my main breakers require a lot of help to do their role, such as the Hooper, where I might need to bring Sticky Webs in certain matchups for it to even do anything. And then I might need to chip on certain stuff for Primarina, or the Ogerpon, Gliscod, or them to not be certain abilities for them to really shine. Overall, I do like my team, but I know it has glaring weaknesses and it's not the greatest. So it's going in the D tier. Our first D tier, I definitely think I can use it to success, as I feel like most of the teams that I build and draft, they're not conventionally strong, but hopefully I can see some success in this season. Next we have Viinis and the Northern Snipers. Where is Viinis? Where is Viinis? Where is Viinis? There is Viinis. Venus. Let's start talking about their team. So they have Lucario with Mega Launcher and Technician. Technician being able to boost a lot of their priority, such as the Bullet Punch and the Vacuum Waves, which are both stab, which is very strong. And the Mega Launcher, it gets a lot of the pulses and like the sphere moves, the Aura Sphere, the Dragon Pulse, the I think he even gets like Water Pulse for no reason, which can just be very strong. Then Gyarados, Aerolite, and Motor Drive, they're probably the best abilities to give this Mon. Maybe like a Beast Boost, but I think Aerolite giving it that physical, or just any flying coverage really. And then Motor Drive, getting rid of that 4 times weakness is just brilliant. Cofagrigus, that Prankster and Dauntless Shield is so strong. Prankster getting those like D-Bonds, Will-O-Wisp, T-Spikes, Iron Defenses and things like that. It can be really good. And then Dauntless Shield being such a good wall physically. We then have Toedscruel, which is a bit of an interesting pickup because Sleep is banned in the format, but giving it Thick Fat and Mold Breaker seems pretty cool. Mold Breaker, ground type attack going through those Levitate and Earth Eater Mons, and then Thick Fat getting rid of some of its weaknesses, which is pretty cool. Zangoose with Quick Feet and Protein. Quick Feet is, you're going to see that the team is not fast at all. There's no like elite speed tier or anything like that. So Quick Feet was kind of to mitigate some of that, which he kind of does. It's better than the team not having it, but it's not ideal not to have fast speed tiers in the first place. And then Protein to be able to switch typings and get some stab on things. I know it gets like Shadow Claw, or I'm pretty sure it gets Knock Off to become different typings depending on the matchup. And then have Drapion with Earth Ether and Sheer Force. I think instead of Sheer Force, I probably would have liked Sharpness for this, as I know it's got quite a few of its like stab and coverage that can get boosted by Sharpness. The Cross Poisoned, Night Slash, the X-Scissor all benefit from Sharpness, but Sheer Force is not bad by any means. And then Earth Eater, obviously being a Poison Dark type, which has no immunity, and also being a grounded poison, that's why it's not Levitate. We then have Spidops, one of my boys, with Study and Well-Baked Body. Study to try and guarantee that sticky web up, and then Well-Baked Body getting rid of one of its major weaknesses. Obviously something like this you probably would want Prankster, but obviously Prankster on Cofagrigus is so much better, in my opinion. Top 3, I was so scared of this team, and then unfortunately we kind of petered off. I don't think there's any bad mons per se, it's just kind of we probably should have prioritized some things as we were drafting than others, mainly that speed. We then have a Azumarill with Lightning Rod and Pixelate. Pixelate is a little bit interesting, trying to become that offensive threat, but it will never be as strong as that huge power that was given it. And then obviously Lightning Rod getting rid of one of those major abilities, major weaknesses, sorry, to Electric. What I would like to have seen here, instead of maybe Pixelate, to be soundproof, as you can trap things in with a Whirlpool and then click Parish Song and not be affected, which could be pretty beneficial for the team. We then saw Venus pick up some specially offensive threat in Glamora, having Levitate and Adaptability, which can hit really hard with that base 130 something special attack. It's Levitate, so it doesn't have that ground weakness, but of course it's not a grounded poison anymore. But it can just be really strong, especially with like Meteor Beam adaptability sets. This is something to definitely be worried about in the builder. We then have Turtonator with Intimidate and Iron Barbs. Bit of an interesting one. I feel like this team could have definitely used a Desolate Land, something like that, which could have been pretty beneficial, but I don't think they're bad abilities in general. And then finally you have Ampharos with Regenerator and Refrigerate. Obviously Electric type Refrigerate, best coverage in the game, and then Regenerator being able to consistently get health back. So Venus has 1 Stealth Rocker, 3 Spikers, 5 T-Spikers, 1 Webs, 2 Spin, and 1 Mortal Spin. There's a single U-Turn and a single Volt Switch. I can't. But that U-turn is in Spy Ops, and the Volt Switch is Ampharos. So not a whole lot of momentum, unfortunately. Priority-wise, you have Aqua Jet, Bullet Punch, Extreme Speed, First Impression, and Vacuum Wave. You have 6 Taunters, 6 Knockoff, 1 Encore, 1 Trick, and 1 Switcheroo. For status, you have a Stun Spore, you got 3 T-Wave, 10 Toxic, and a Will-O-Wisp. I think it's 2 Will-O-Wisps, if I'm not mistaken. I just didn't write it down. Whoopsies. So pros, incredibly strong breaker in Lucario, incredibly strong setup threat and sweeper in Gyarados, and then incredibly physically defensive wall and utility in Cofagrigus. But then after that, unfortunately, we kind of peter off. Yeah, and the cons, obviously, that no good speed tiers. Base 100 in the Toedscrawl being the highest speed tiers is incredibly unfortunate. And then there can be some improvements to abilities, in my personal opinion, for this team. Overall, this is joining my team in the D tier. Next up, we have Forza. Yeah, we have Forza. 5 more to go. Forza's team consists of an Emissarian with Delta Stream and a Steam Engine. So fun fact, this was actually going to be my plan instead of going for Primarina, but I went for Primarina because my speed tiers were pretty atrocious, and I kind of needed something to branch in between the base 40s I had, and I think was Skuntank the next? Skuntank might have been the next. Yeah, no. Hooper. So between base 40 and 70, I think, just to branch that with that base 60. Very good mon, Delta Stream, meaning it's only weak to Steel and Poison, which is the fairy's normal weaknesses. And then Steam Engine can be a very sleeper pick, being hit by a water or a fire type attack, all of a sudden getting +6 speed. It's just amazing. Crocodile with adaptability and Mold Breaker to stop any of those Levitate or Earth Eater mons, being able to get hard earthquakes in them, and then adaptability, it can just be an absolute nuke in certain matchups, and I'm very excited to see. Rutamo, Thick Fat and Transistor, it can take its advantage of its bulk with its grass typing with Thick Fat, especially since it's not weak to flying, so currently it's only poison and bug that it's weak to, I do believe, which is very good for the mon. And then Transistor doing a bit more damage with those electric type attacks. I think it's 1.3. I know Dragon Ball is 1.5, but I think they had to nerf Regieleki, so I think it's 1.3 now. We have Inteleon with Primordial Sea and Beast Boost. Obviously, Primordial Sea. I love these abilities, and I think they're the strongest in the one of, if not the strongest in the format. And then Beast Boost can be a very good to get this mon rolling as like a sweeper. We then have Reuniclus, Prankster, and Psychic Surge. Psychic Surge obviously stopping one priority and also just boosting its attacks, and then Prankster being able to get off, I believe it gets like Encore and things like that, which can be really good for the team. Pyro, a little bit of a cheaper option, but also pretty good speeder with Desolate Land and Magic Guard. Probably the best abilities to give it. Desolate Land, obviously, very strong ability, and the Magic Guard, meaning it's not weak to rocks, is always good. Alolan Sandslash with Well-Baked Body and Snow Warning. I think the Snow Warning is obviously because it boosts the ice types defensively, but also it does get access to the Aurora Veil, and although it can't be likely, it could be pretty beneficial for the team, because it's both light screen and reflect at once. And then Well-Baked Body, obviously getting rid of that 4x weakness to fire. Still has the 4x weakness to fighting, but I guess the next mon is going to cover that in Fezandipity, which has Earth Eater and Corrosion. Obviously, great resist for those fighting type Pokemon. Gets access to things like U-Turn. The Earth Eater gets rid of one of its main weaknesses in Ground, and then Corrosion being able to poison those steel and poison types that it normally wouldn't be able to. Glaring Corsola with Fluffy and Intimidate just means it's absolutely obnoxious with an Eviolite, as well as like it's a strength sap, just trying to keep its health up as much and taking very little damage for any mon that comes into its way. Finally, he had 7 points left, so he picked up regular Paldean Taurus, combat form with Scrappy and Supreme Overlord. Scrappy makes sense, obviously Scrappy fighting types are just so good in this format. And then Supreme Overlord, if he gets 5 of his other mons down, having that 1.5 boost could be pretty good. I feel like you probably could have had a better ability here, but Supreme Overlord's not bad by any means. Right, so he has 3 Stealth Rockers, 1 Spiker, 1 Defogger, and 1 Spin. He has 2 U-Turn, 1 Volt Switch, and 1 Flip Turn. He has 4 Taunt Users, 3 Knockoff, 1 Encore, and 2 Trick. Priority-wise, he has Aqua Jets, 2 Ice Shard, and a Vacuum Wave. Status, he has 2 T-Wave, 6 Toxic, and 2 Wisp. Overall, he has good speed tiers, going from Inteleon down to Pyro, down to Fez or Tauros, I think. Something like that. So they're pretty good. So pros for the team. He has great offensive Pokemon in the Enam, Crook, Inteleon, Reuniclus, and even the Pyro, which is really good offensively, as well as the good defensive mons in the Enam again, the Crook again, the Motom, the Reuniclus, Sandslash, Fez, and Corsola. And he has no obvious type weaknesses, which is always love to see. The only cons to the team is that there's limited momentum and there is no T-Spikes. Overall, there's a pretty solid team. This was one where kind of teetering, like Cavern's. And ultimately, I ended up putting in A tier, as I thought some of these top abilities were just slightly better. But that might just be personal preference. 2 more pages, 4 more teams. Right, so next we have Honch, and his new team name being the Gilb Enjoyers United. You might keep up hearing Gilb. It stands for God I Love Bastiodon, and it's a meme in the NBA. So his team consists of Chandelure with Sheer Force and Storm Drain. Sheer Force is really strong for Chandelure, as a lot of its attacks can be boosted by that Sheer Force, and then Storm Drain, obviously immunity to water, and it can potentially get a special attack raise, which could be pretty good for the team. RakuAshFall being Earth Eater and Magic Guard. Obviously, it couldn't have Levitate if it wanted other abilities, so Earth Eater was just good. Gives it something that can heal itself from ground attacks, with the slight weakness of being able to take spikes and T-spikes now. And Magic Guard means it can actually be pretty good offensively, with like a Life Orb, and just not taking any hazards anymore. We then have Tyranitar being Sword of Ruin and Fluffy. Sword of Ruin means this hits like an absolute truck. I think it has base 1, 3, 4 attack. Paired with the Sword of Ruin, it's just broken. And then Fluffy meaning it be that physically defensive, the wall that it wants to be for this team. Here on top is Scrappy and Tough Claws. Scrappy obviously to mean nothing can stop its rapid spins, and then Tough Claws just means there's a little bit more, gives it a little bit more of offensive presence, with some things like its triple axles, its close combats, and I think like Mark Punch, maybe it's not, but stuff like that, just to mean it's a bit more stronger. Doesn't even get Mark Punch, it might get Bullet Punch. We'll find out later. Swallow with Aerialate and Punk Rock. Punk Rock meaning its Boom Burst do a whole lot of damage. As we've seen, it normally does a whole lot of damage with its Boom Burst, and now it's even boosted with Punk Rock. And then obviously Aerialate means it doesn't have to rely on Hurricanes in certain matchups. It can use that Aerialate boosted Boom Burst to do damage. Superior has Grassy Surge and Wellwake Body. I know he was talking about like SD Grassy Glides Superior, which could be pretty funny, and then Wellwake Body, obviously getting rid of that fire type weakness that it has. He then has just a normal prankster Klefki, which makes sense, as I don't think Klefki can have a better ability than what it already has. It's a pretty bad mon without it, but very solid, and definitely one of the favorites of mine of using last season in the NBA low tier Moonlight division. Then I have Dragalge, one of my boys from the previous season of the NBA, which won me a championship, being Dragon's Maw and Regenerator. He originally did have it, they wanted just the adaptability, but we persuaded him out of it, since Dragon Maw does relatively similar for its dragon type attacks, and then Regenerator just being able to keep its health up is just really beneficial for this mon. He then has Silvally, which just kept its normal ability, which makes sense. You want to be able to going through all of its different typings with the Archaea system, just to kind of round out the team. And then finally is the Mudsdale with Water Absorb and Mold Breaker. Water Absorb, obviously, to get rid of one of its major weaknesses in water types, and then Mold Breaker being able to hit all those Levitating Earth Eater mons with EQ. He has 2 Stealth Rockers, 1 Spiker, 1 T-Spiker, 5 Defoggers, and 1 Spin, so very good removal. He has 2 U-Turn, 1 Volt Switch, 1 Flip Turn, and 1 Parting Shot. Priority-wise, he has Bullet Punch, Fake Out, and Muck Punch. He has 3 Taunt, uses 2 Knockoff, 2 Trick, and 1 Switcheroo. For status, he has 1 Galette, 4 T-Wave, 10 Toxic, and 2 Will-O-Wisps. He has some pretty great speed tiers from Spello to like Superior, which is very, very solid. What does it go down to next? Silvally, maybe? Silvally or Chandelure. I don't remember which one's faster. I think Chandelure's base 80 and Silvally is 95. So I think it's Silvally. Silvally really helps round out this team with being able to be different typings each week. Just to help both offensively and defensively. I think it was a pretty good pickup for him. He also has aromatherapy on Superior. Pros, great offense, very good offense in a combination of the Chandelure, the Rotom-Wash, the T-Tar, Swallow, Silvally. All can be very good offensively into breaking people's teams and potentially sweeping. And then he also has that great defense and utility from the Hitmontop, Klefki, Dragalge, Silvally, and Mudsdale. Also, the team I see is no Primordial Sea and no Desolate Land. And he's also pretty ice and ground weak. I still think this is a very solid team, especially because it starts looking like it's like, oh, it's just Gen 5 OU. And then he starts playing more games. He's like, oh, okay, I'll go on to Gen 6. I guess I'll finish on for Gen 7. I do think this is a very solid team, and I ended up putting it in the S tier. It's also another one where you can probably argue being A tier, but I think this one just creeps over with how strong like Chandelure and Tyranitar and Swallow are offensively in this format. I think it's just going to be very difficult to switch into. But yeah, again, this is all opinion based, and you may disagree, which you're free to do so. Right, next up we have VN. Where is VN? VN is right down here. VN and the Quantum Choice Scarf. His team consists of Noivern with Aerial 8 and Delta Stream. Obviously, Aerial 8 for those Boom Burst to become that flying type, so he doesn't have to risk Hurricane, and also a bit stronger than a Hurricane would be. And then Delta Stream getting rid of those flying type weaknesses, so it's only still weak to Ice, Fairy, and opposing Dragons. Iron Leaves with Sharpness and Wellbait Body. A lot of Iron Leaves attacks are boosted by Sharpness, the Leaf Blades, the Psyblade, I think its signature is called. I think it's Signature Sword. So that will help benefit. And then Wellbait Body, obviously an immunity ability, which is very beneficial for the Mon. Next we have Iron Thorns with Earth Eater and Shadow Shield. Earth Eater getting rid of that 4x weakness to ground that it has, and then Shadow Shield meaning it can potentially set up on something and get a guaranteed setup, which is always lovely to see. Milotic with Regenerator and Volt Absorb, kind of like my Primarina. can be very good defensively and offensively. Regenerate it, keeping its health up, and then Molt Absorb being able to get rid of one of its main weaknesses, which we're kind of seeing a theme with his team, trying to get rid of those weaknesses and just trying to make them on shine, as per se. He then has Ambipom with Scrappy and Toxic Chain. Obviously, Scrappy is an all-type, so it's like Fake Out Last Resort are going to do a whole lot of damage to everything, and not have anything immune to him. And then Toxic Chain for his like multi-hit moves. If he wants to be loaded dice, trying to get poisons on things. He then has Kling Klang with Technician and Primordial Sea. Primordial Sea pretty good defensively, getting rid of that fire type weakness. And then Technician for like Gear Grind. If he wants to be like a Shift Gear Grind, could be pretty strong. And I'm excited to see. He then has Slurpuff with Magic Guard and Prankster, pretty much being very budget Clef with that Magic Guard, and then Prankster Sticky Webs, stuff like that. He then has Palisand with Sandstream and Unaware. Sandstream plus Shore Up being such a good way to keep this mon healthy, and then Unaware dealing with some of those setup threats. Just really good for this mon. A lot more beneficial than its usual like water compaction. It then has Selnor with Sturdy and Psychic Surge. Sturdy meaning it can guarantee take a hit and doesn't have to be sash if you're trying to get up hazards, and Psychic Surge to prevent priority. So it's the majority of the time the fastest thing on the field. We then have Sword of Ruin and Mind's Eye. Sword of Ruin means it can actually be pretty strong with its close combats, and then Mind's Eye obviously meaning it doesn't have anything that's immune to it. Manectric, another electric type, with Electric Surge and Refrigerate. Obviously, let's say it again, Electric plus Ice is the best coverage in the game, and then Electric Surge just to boost up those electric type attacks. He then has Salazzle with Desolate Land and Merciless. Desolate Land really good for this with its fire type attack, and then Merciless, I believe is for flinching. Things that are poisoned, so it can rather do it themselves or get Ambipom to do it for it. This team has 2 Stealth Rockers, 2 Spikers, 2 T-Spikers, 1 Sticky Weather, and 1 Defogger. It has 3 U-Turn, 3 Volt Switch, and 1 Flip Turn. It has 2 Fake Out, 1 Water Shuriken. It has 6 Torn, 4 Knockoffs, 2 Encore, 1 Trick, and 3 Switcheroo. He has 5 T-Wave Mons, 10 Toxic, and 1 Will-O-Wisp. Very good speeches, and it has a Heal Bell Mon, which I think it's Slurpuff off the top of my head. Pros, fantastic offense and setup offense, in things like the Noivern, which can just be an absolute nuke. Iron Leaves, which just does a lot of damage, and then setup threats in like Iron Thorns. It has very good utility, and it's got great defensive mons with defensive abilities, such as the Milotic and the Palo Sand. Even the Kling Klang. We'll give that guy a shout out. The cons is pretty Ghost weak. He doesn't have a Dark type, which means he's weak to Prankster as well. I know he does have the Psychic Surge on the Selgor to stop Prankster, but not having that Dark type is still kind of feels bad. I realize I didn't DM him. And also a bit of a lack of removal, only having that 1 Defogger, so it seems he's rather going to have to forego his own hazards, or he's going to forego having removal and do it himself. So yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty strong team. It does have some weaknesses, but its offensive presence is just incredibly strong. Okay, he's at work. And I'll put this in the S tier. One more page to go. One more page. So next up we have Ahri. Now, where is Ahri? Here is Ahri of the Reboot Dudes. His team consists of Bees of Ruin, Earth, Eaton, Nihiligo. Him. Obviously, Earth Eater getting rid of that 4 times weakness to ground, as well still being a grounded poison type. And then Beat of Ruin can just be an absolute nuke with Meteor Beam or its coverage, just really, really strong. Gudra has Tablets of Ruin and Unaware. Tablets of Ruin boosting up its kind of lackluster defense to become more of a well-balanced all-rounder bulky mon, and then Unaware obviously getting rid of trying to deal with those setup threats, though it does kind of have the weakness of things can just drop Dracos into it, though it's special and defensive enough that it should theoretically, depending on the team, be able to live too. We then have Adaptability Protosynthesis Dugtrio, which was kind of an afterthought. He was really interested in Phalanx, drafting that guy, and then dropped it in Grace after he made such a big deal about it. So it's a little sad, and he might go down a bit for not sticking with the Phalanx. This is fine. 120 speed tier gives him a very good speed tier. It could potentially do something. It's not the strongest, but with adaptability, maybe its ground type attacks will do. And then Protosynthesis, giving him a free speed boost could be pretty good. Double Marvel Scale and Scrappy. Marvel Scale makes this incredibly bulky, and then Scrappy means it doesn't have something that resists it. So yeah, they could be pretty good. We then have Decidueye with Grassy Surge and Soundproof. I'm assuming Soundproof for all of these Aerialate Boom Burst or Refrigerate Boom Burst, things like that, or Hyper Voice to try and help the team defensively. And then Grassy Surge, obviously, for an offensive presence. Also helps the team with a bit of recovery, but also those Grassy Glides will become pretty strong and priority. Incineroar is Prankster and Sword of Ruin. Prankster being able to get those Prankster Will-O-Wisps or parting shots off could be very obnoxious for your opponents, and then Sword of Ruin giving out a bit more of an offensive presence with those Flare Blitz knockoffs and like close combats. The Titan has Technician and Libero. Technician for those Technician Ice Shards or Ice Cool Spears can be really, really strong into certain teams. And then Libero, trying to get rid of that not so great Ice type defensiveness and try and use its coverage because it gets like EQ. I think it gets Body Press, things like that, just to try and get a little bit better of a defensive typing. Diancie has Rough Skin and Vessel of Ruin. We love Diancie with its infinite bulk. I would have liked to see maybe Regenerator on this, but another one that has it makes sense. Just because it has that lack of recovery. But Rough Skin means it can do pretty decent chip on opponent's offensive threats, and Vessel of Ruin means it's such a good, especially defensive wall. Into matchups. It's really, really bulky. And then I have Magneton with Primordial Sea and Refrigerate. Electric type with Refrigerate. Let's say again, Bolt Beam's the best coverage, and then Primordial Sea getting rid of that weakness to fire. Also Thunder's landing 100%, which is pretty good. We then have Honchkrow, Dark Aura, Magic Guard, giving Honchkrow a bit more of an offensive threat than it normally has, without trying to rely on crits or something like that. Magic Guard meaning it doesn't have to run boots, so it doesn't take those rocks. Could be pretty good, and hopefully we see this one succeed. We then have Vaporeon, which is a very good bulky water, Regenerator and Volt Absorb, something that you're probably going to see on a lot of these water types if you haven't already, to keep it healthy and get rid of one of its main weaknesses to Electric. And then finally we have a 2-pointer Lopunny with Pixelate and Intimidate. I don't really see this coming unless it's for like Healing Wish, as I don't think it's going to be that strong with Pixelate, but who knows, if he's into someone like Boniour with his multiple 4x weakness to Fairy, it could be pretty good. And then Intimidate, it could have some knee smash up trying to weaken some physical attacker. So he has 3 Stealth Rockers, 1 Spiker, 1 T-Spiker, and 2 Defoggers. He has 4 U-Turn, 1 Volt Switch, 1 Flip Turn, and 1 Parting Shot, as well as 1 Teleport. I think Teleport to Magneton. He has 2 Fake Out, one Ice Shard. He's got one Shadow Sneak and one Sucker Punch. You've probably not heard me say Sucker Punch a lot. That's because while a lot of these teams have access to them, they're not really going to be using them. While for this, the Honch Crow is going to be using its Sucker Punch. He has 2 Taunt, 5 Knockoff, 2 Encore, and 1 Switcheroo. 5 T-Wave, 10 Toxic, 1 Will-O-Wisp. He's got pretty good speed tiers, and then he has 3 Heal Bells in the, I think, Diancie, Vaporeon, Lopunny, if I had to guess. Pretty good speed tiers. The only downside to them is some of his faster mons are that like Doug Trio that he doesn't really want to be bringing, and I think Lopunny is pretty fast. 'Cause outside of that, yeah, Nihilego is the fastest one at, I believe, 103? I think it's just faster than Chomp. Yeah. Pros, he's got fantastic defensive mons with Goodra, Double, Diancie, Vaporeon, which is going to be very difficult for opponents to break, as well as great utility in a lot of those mons. The cons is there's obviously the lack of spin, so it seems like he's probably going to be trying to keep hazards more off his side of the field and then onto his opponent, unless he wants to have a hazard stack war. Slightly lack of offensive presence. While he's got a lot of defensive mons that can do some damage offensively, it's a little bit lackluster than some of the other teams. But depending on how he builds, it could work in his favor, with opponents building more offensive teams and not as defensive, so he can break through them. And he also is slightly weak to fighting types and water types. The fighting types being able to hit things like the Double, the Incineroar, the Cetitan, the Magneton, the Lopunny, and then stuff that should resist it because of the dual typings not, such as the Honch Crow and the Diancie and the Nihilego. And then their water weakness. The Nihilego's weak, the Dugtrio's weak, the Incineroar's weak, the Diancie's weak. Just something that I noticed in the type chart. So overall, I would give this team a C. Right, the final team we have is good old Weasley. Last but definitely not least, we have Weasley with the Chattanooga cheese sticks. I probably absolutely butchered that. My apologies. We're going to add him because he said he would be around, so we'll see if he wants to come on and speak. Make sure I'm still recording, which I am. And we'll just move him over. Hey, Weasley.
What's up?
Hello. So if you'd like just to speak about the ones you drafted, why you drafted them, and the reasons that you gave them their abilities.
Just, uh, so, uh, why is it so much more uncomfortable to talk about it?
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. So originally, I'm kind of worried about, like, did I mess everything up? Is my draft just terrible or something? But I'll try because, like, I have no faith in my ability to. So the first one I drafted was Hisui and Gudra, right?
Yep.
Basically the idea is that I originally wanted Swampert.
Yep.
You see, the thing is, Hisui and Gudra just on paper I saw that its stats were significantly better, its typing was more flexible, and I wasn't wanting another 19-pointer, and like people thought it was the best one on the board, so I guess I just believed them, but maybe it's not. I've
It's
been starting to
very
think
good.
that maybe. But the abilities. So Hisuian Gudra is the abilities on it. Are first Regenerator, which Regenerator is just Regenerator. I think everyone watching this knows exactly what that ability does and why it's so good.
Yep, I think I've said it 15 times now for every other team.
And the other ability is Grassy Surge, which a lot of other players I anticipate would be running Grassy Surge on their Grass type. But my Grass type Pokemon, which we'll get into later, is not one that I think is generally going to be as good at abusing Grassy Surge. And also, an important thing that it does is that it halves the power of Earthquake, and it gives you an alternative ability that not only shuts down opposing terrain, but it also allows you to recover HP with while having the flexibility of reducing the power of ground type moves. And the one ground type move that's relevant that's going to hurt it significantly, Hisuian Gudra can take the earth powers and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just very flexible in general. And another mon that I had was a Talon, right?
Yep.
Talon. The deal with Talon is that it's very much the way I view Talonflame is very, I think, unusual. A lot of people see it as like this super all-in offensive mon, but the deal with it is that it's generally fast enough that you can afford to drop some speed and still invest EVs into your bulk. And you can afford to roost before most opponents can attack you, which is also very important. So it's actually like a mon that flexes between being an offensive threat with like Sword Stance and being a defensive mon for like a more bulky team.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is why I gave it Magic Guard, right? Because Magic Guard, both of its abilities, Magic Guard and Desolate Land, are designed to improve its ability to flex between those two roles. Like, Magic Guard makes it so that when it's running offense, it could either run Life Orb for boosted damage, basically for free. Its Brave Bird and Flare Blitz don't deal recoil damage, and it doesn't have to run Boots because it can switch in on Stealth Rock for free. And on the defensive side, I think we all know, well, Magic Guard is a very good ability defensively. I don't think I have to explain that. Clefable has terrible stats, and it's still good with Magic Guard.
Yeah.
Desolate Land gives it an immunity to one of its weaknesses, and also boosts the power of its fire moves, but it does immediately reveal that I'm heavy-duty boots. If there's rocks in the field.
Yeah. Also, I could see, like, depending on the matchup, like even Scarf or God Specs Desolate Land would do so much damage.
Yeah. If the opponent doesn't have rocks, I can run Desolate Land basically for free a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so far I think everyone's got rocks, but not always good rockers.
Yeah. Florges is a mon that it's more dedicated to defense, but it also could technically go offensive. Like, my next couple of mons are going to be, like, flex options, mostly. Because, like, honestly, most of my team can go between defense and offense to some degree.
Yeah.
And I was pretty careful about that. Florges is very bulky.
God, yes.
So I can either wish and make sure my entire team never dies, or I can just calm mind and you can't do anything about it because it's fluffy.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I'm slightly glad we don't fight.
What?
I'm slightly glad we don't face each other.
Sorry. But honestly, my team might get clowned on because I don't have enough offense.
Yeah, that is.
Because like
Yeah, it's slightly one of the cons. So I'm just going to speed through some of this stuff. Feel free to jump in if you want. So obviously, yeah, the unaware fluffy Florges. Florges doesn't have the best physical defense, so the fluffy really, really helps with that. And then obviously unaware, stopping those setup threats, and especially beneficial since it's a fairy type. It doesn't have to worry about these Draco meteors being spammed into it. You then have your Celebi, which you had to beg everyone else not to draft with Prankster and Protein.
I'm sorry, I still feel terrible about that.
No, don't worry about it.
Genuinely.
No, you shouldn't. It's fine.
Technically, with a bit more foresight, I could have just gone Gardevoir and Shaman or something, but
Yeah, but then you're worried about like a lot of high point mons. So I think I remember you saying that the Prankster was mainly for Subseed, and it also gets some other stuff, but that was the majority.
Subseed, but it also gets stuff like Encore and Rocks, and
Yeah.
it has the potential to be very annoying. And another benefit of Prankster is that it means that even if I run Swords Dance or Calm Mind, I can avoid immediately revealing a lot of my speeds. Because with Prankster setup, you don't know whether Celebi's faster or slower. And since Celebi has a speed tier for that, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Protean is because Celebi's typing is terrible, and
yeah. Being able to come some of its like coverage, where I think it gets what ground, fairy, fighting, stuff like that.
Boosted earth powers. Even if I want, I could even run like Sucker Punch or like a physical set at some point because its physical coverage isn't terrible.
Yeah. And it's base 100 stats across the board, so you can go physical, special, bulky, fast, whatever you want. It's a very good mon to kind of pigeonhole where you need.
Donphan.
So I've told you this. At first, I didn't see the vision, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, wow, this is genius. So Aerial 8 Donphan is just such a difficult mon. It ends up becoming one of your better breakers for the team. Not only because I think it has the highest attack stat in 120, but the combination of ground plus flying is so difficult to deal with defensively.
It has the second highest attack stat.
What's the highest? Oh, Absol.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously you have the Turbo Blaze, so that all the Levitate and Wellbake Body mons, not Wellbake Body, sorry, the Earth Eater mons, can get hit by Earthquake. Sorry, I've been doing this for a while. All the abilities are merging together. So yeah, it becomes not only a great defensive mon for you, but it's something else. I made a very
important transaction before the season started. I swapped out my Terravolt on Donphan for Turbo Blaze because it has better aura.
Yeah, 100%. Makes you think it's like forged or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy's a very good breaker for your team.
I hope so.
It can be that obviously what it normally is in that defensive mon, but with you having so many defensive mons already, I feel like it will become put into more of an offensive role, which is definitely not a bad thing, especially if you can start like rapid spinning on stuff and become very fast. It can be very strong.
Yeah. I do have a lot of interesting things that like I can do offensively, I think that I hope most people won't realize.
Yeah.
But so Frostlass is another mon that I don't really have faith in, but
I have faith in Frostlass. I think Frostlass is really good, especially with Technician. Technician triple Axle becomes incredibly powerful with this mon. I know it doesn't have like the
There's another
stats per se to like back it up, but it does well.
there's another move that I don't think people are giving a lot of credit for Frostlass.
Icy Wind?
Frost Breath.
Oh yeah, because it always crits. So it becomes
It basically
90.
becomes Ice Beam that always crits.
Yeah. Yeah, that can actually be very good.
It's like nearly as strong as Taxel.
Yeah. So you have both special and physical options, like a lot of your mons do.
Especially since Frostlass's special move pool for Technician moves specifically is very, very strong.
Yeah.
It gets Shockwave, it gets Draining Kiss, it gets Ominous Wind, it gets, like, all that stuff just becomes good, genuinely decent coverage when you give it Technician.
Yeah. And then obviously you have that sturdy, so that obviously in normal play, like
So
low
that can
tier, you
vomit
see
up
it.
spikes.
Yeah, you see a lot
So they
of
can
like
vomit up
leech
spikes,
sash.
burn something, and then debond.
Yeah, it's highly respectable.
Vikavolt is where 90% of my breaking power is.
Yep. Primordial Sea, I've said this so many times in this, very good both offensively and defensively. You get those 100% accurate thunders with this, and then obviously no longer weak to fire,
The fire immunity.
which
The
is
fire
good.
immunity on the primordial. Sorry.
No,
On fire immunity on Primordial Sea is probably the main reason why I got it. Why I gave it that ability, because it helps so much with my type chart.
yeah, especially since Florges
Like,
a lot of the
Vikavolt-
time will be fluffy.
Yeah, Vikavolt with Primordial Sea only has 2 weaknesses, and it has significantly more resistances.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's
Actually, it
only
might only
weak.
be like 4 or something. It's got steel. It's got electric.
Grass,
The
flying.
fire immunity. It's got
No,
grass.
flying's neutral.
Not flying.
Yeah, that's neutral. I'm tired.
Yeah, but it's pretty alright defensively.
No, it's a great mon. And then obviously you have that Beads of Ruin just to be an absolute nuke when you want to, which is
Yeah, that thing hits
always
harder
nice
than
to see.
GU.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying the same for mine because obviously Hooper, but obviously the typing's not as good as like a Vigavolt in this situation. You then have your Hisuian Sneasel, which is another pretty fast mon, bridging the gaps between your Frostlass and Talonflame and the speed tier. Sword of Ruin can actually...
Kinda.
a little bit. The Sword of Ruin, Hisuian Sneasel, can actually hit surprisingly hard. I've been using this in a regular low tier team tour, and looking at some of the calcs, it's pretty good when it needs to be.
The thing with Hisuian Sneasel is that its attack stat is deceptively low because you've got to consider the fact that the moves it's going to be hitting you with you are 120 base power.
Yeah, the close combats and the gunk shots just do a lot.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have the Earth
And getting
Eater.
the boost on that. Getting the boost on that means that I'm basically running Sneasler.
Yeah. Sneasler with no Diaclaw.
Yeah.
And then you have Earth Eater just to be immune to the ground types, which I feel like every team's going to need, while it's still touching being a grounded poison type to soak up T-spikes.
Honestly, the one thing that I got that for is that it's an Edgequake resist.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You then have a bit of an interesting mon, which you were gunning for, it seemed like. Would you like to talk about Omastar?
Yeah, I'd like to. Are you not aware of the reasons why?
Oh, I know why. It gets Shell Smash, it gets all of, like, every single hazard. It's very good utility.
Yes, it does. There are a couple of other things. When you look at Omastar's defensive typing with Sap Zipper, it can be shockingly good. Like its base that makes it like it's a functional bulky water, I think. Well, in my opinion, just because it does have things that it can do while it's what's the word? Like it's not as passive as a lot of other bulky waters, which
Hmm.
means that while it doesn't have recovery, it can stall break fairly well.
Yeah. And obviously, with like Shell Smash and that, it can become a sweeper for your team.
Yeah, Shell Smash can do really well. Sap Slipper also helps with one of the most dangerous priority moves, Grassy Glide,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are going to be running that.
Yeah, definitely. Though I was actually surprised about the amount of people that have grass types and not give them grassy train in this. Like, I know you have grassy train with your Hisuian Gudra, but Shiv did not give it to his Serena. Some of the more like defensive ones instead go for like unaware, thick fat, vessel of ruin. So it's not as common as I
Prankster.
thought. Yeah, it's not as common as I thought. I feel like the main person is like me. Yeah, I didn't even want it. I didn't even want it. I got persuaded into it. I was looking for something else because
Yeah,
I was
but
like, Sword of Ruin is enough. And they're like, no, you need the priority. I was like,
the thing
fine.
is, Omastar, um, even if you're not blocking Grassy Glides a lot of the time, I don't think I need to explain why it's a good idea to have an immunity ability for your 4 times weakness.
Yeah, it just makes so much sense.
It makes sense. And also, like, Omastar, it's it's also a mon that, like, with sheer force, it's not especially weak. Omastar's attacking moves that it generally runs are kind of weak-ish. Like, Scald losing its 30% burn chance is kind of rough sometimes, but
Yeah,
I mean, it does become pretty strong as well. So, and also
yeah,
your
definitely.
ice ground coverage becomes boosted by that. Your
Yeah,
ancient power gets boosted by it. Basically, all of your physical coverage if you want to be a lunatic.
yeah. No, it's definitely a solid mon. It's just something that I don't normally see get drafted. So I'm very happy that it gets drafted in this format where you can change its abilities around.
Yes, is it going to spam hazard? Am I going to spam hazards or am I going to immediately shell smash on turn 1?
Yeah, who knows? Find out next time. And then your next two picks are just kind of you were the only person that managed to do this. You were going for one of every type with no overlapping. So the last two typings
Yes.
was obviously the dark and
And my
normal.
last two types were the ones that resist ghosts.
Yeah. So yeah, Absol, Dark Aura and Shadow Shield. Obviously, Dark Aura boosting those dark type attacks, and then Shadow Shield. It's not the bulkiest thing in the mon, so if it can potentially live a hit and deal something back, being
Yeah,
your
the idea is
main
that
physical
so that
attacker.
the idea is that if I want to set up a sword stance, I can set up a sword stance.
Yeah. So Roy,
And like Absol is kind of slow, but Sucker Punch is really strong.
yeah, and then obviously you've got Big Furret. You've been bigging this mon up. I'm so excited to see you do well with it.
I am Yes, I am going to steamroll teams with Guts for it.
Well baked body and guts as its ability. Obviously, guts flame orb
So
tidy up. There's potential there.
the reason why I got specifically Guts for it is because I saw do you remember Furret Cup? Like that one metagame where you can only use Furret?
Yeah,
I remember that some people would actually run Flame Orb Facade just so that you could switch route onto opposing physical Furrets and also not be hindered yourself. That was a legitimate strategy that some people are using, so I figured why not encourage that by giving it an actual reason to run Flame Orb.
yeah,
And like Tidy Up, Coil, like all the stuffs are pretty cool.
yeah. I'm very excited to see how it goes. So with all
Yeah,
of like
I
these
can choose.
teams, oh no, go ahead.
And there's one last ability. Well-baked body, because I don't like Chandelure.
Yeah. Do you fight Honch? I forget.
I fight Honch next week.
Ooh, good luck.
Yeah, his team's way better than me.
He has a very good team. So what I've done with all these teams is before I started the recording is I made a whole lot of notes of them. So I'm just going to list out a bunch of like statistics, I guess. So your team has 3 Stealth Rockers, 2 Spikers, 2 T-Spikers, a Sticky Webber, 2 Defoggers, and 1 Spin. Momentum-wise, you have
I don't
3...
know if it's enough.
Compared to what some people have, it's a lot better. You have 3 U-Turners and 1 Volt Switch. Priority-wise, you got Fake Out, 2 Ice Sharders, and Sucker Punch from that Absol. You have 4 Taunt users, 5 Knockoff users, 1 Encore, and 4 Trick. I think that includes the Switcheroo, so you'll ferret giving things Flame Orb,
Yeah.
which would be pretty funny.
I think Furret and Frostlass both get both Trick and Switcheroo.
Yeah. So I didn't write them down, but that exists. Status-wise, you have, I believe, 4 T-Waivers, 9 Toxic, and 3 Wisps, which is very solid. You got good speed tiers.
Two of the fastest Will-O-Wisp users in the game.
Yeah. You got 2 Heal Bell and 1 Healing Wish. The pros that I've seen for your team is that you've got a fantastic defensive profile with Hisuian Gudra, Florges, Celebi, Donphan, all having great utility, and you have no obvious weaknesses to the team. Obviously, the cons, it kind of struggles offensively stat-wise, kind of relying on some like setup opportunities with things like that Talonflame, Calm Mind Florges, setup Celebi, with your main breakers being like the Vikavolt, Absol, and Donphan without setting up. So that does bring it down a little bit. Overall, I still think it's a very solid team. For how I've been doing this is it's not like you're number 1, you're number 2. I've been doing it rather S, A, B, C, or D. I'm going to put this in a B tier. I still think it's a very good team, very obnoxious to break. I just think you might struggle when it comes to building to try and break other people's teams. But overall, still a very good team.
Yeah. I'll try to be as creative as I can, and I'll try to prove you wrong, because Kaz, I need validation.
You need validation.
I require validation, human.
You require sustenance. Because this team is going to have to be very creative, but I mean, if anyone can do it, it's you. I've seen some incredibly creative builds coming from you. I'm just glad that Oko moves are banned.
I don't think clicking hold is so Terrifier to know it was creative.
No, thankfully you can't fish a Donphan in this.
Are you sure?
Yes, it's banned, Weasley. Don't do it.
Yes, but what if I Oko something with the ground movement anyway?
It's not an Oko move, so it's fine. And also you're going to have to with this Donphan. Yes. This Donphan's going to have to be Okoing things for this team.
Officer, he ran right into my earthquake.
Don't look up. It does not say Fisher. Earthquake. 100%. Alright, well that is everything for this this power rankings. Anything you want to say, Weasley?
I love you all, and to all a good night, and please make sure... I can't give you a hug in person, so please make sure to do it to yourself, or maybe ask someone else. Because y'all are amazing. Genuinely. And good luck.
Well said. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. This has been the MMDL low tier, almost any ability power rankings. Thank you for watching.